Hi there. Tonight we slip into the starlit sands of ancient Egypt, where you, a young woman, stand at the edge of a life-altering moment, your wedding night. Picture yourself in a mud brick village along the Nile, the air thick with the scent of lotus flowers and warm bread. Torches flicker, casting shadows on faces, whispering about your upcoming rituals. You feel a knot in your stomach, not just from love or excitement, but because these ceremonies are a gauntlet of strange customs and divine scrutiny. Honestly, you probably won't survive the stress of pleasing everyone, from your in-laws to the gods themselves. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I love knowing where you're drifting off from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stand barefoot on the cool earthen floor of your family's home, the day of your wedding dawning. The air buzzes with anticipation, but it's not the dreamy glow of modern romance. In ancient Egypt, marriage is a contract, a social glue binding families, and you're the linchpin. Your parents have negotiated this union for months, bartering dowries of grain, linen, and maybe a goat or two. You're not just marrying a man, you're merging households, and the whole village knows it. Every step you take tonight will be watched, judged, and gossiped about for weeks. The pressure feels like a stone on your chest. Let's set the scene. It's around 1500 BCE, under the New Kingdom's golden age. Pharaohs like Hatshepsut rule, and society thrives on order, a mainstream historical fact. Marriage in Egypt often happens young, sometimes as early as 12 or 13 for girls like you. Your groom, likely a few years older, might be a scribe or a farmer's son. The ceremony isn't a single day's event, but a series of rituals stretching over days, each layered with meaning. You're not just saying I do, you're stepping into a role scripted by tradition and divine will. Now, here's a quirky tidbit. Before you even see your groom, you must undergo a purification bath, and it's not your average splash. Servants pour Nile water mixed with natron, a salty mineral, over your head while chanting to appease Sekhmet, the lioness goddess who could curse your marriage if ignored. The water's cold, the natron stings your eyes, and you're wondering if this is really necessary. Spoiler, it is. One wrong move, and the village whispers, you've angered the gods. Good luck sleeping tonight. Your mother pulls you aside, her voice low. She warns you about the wedding night's expectations, and it's not just about romance. You're expected to prove your purity and fertility, and the rituals are intense. Historians still argue whether these customs were more symbolic or painfully literal, but either way, you're nervous. The community believes your success tonight ensures the Nile's floods and the harvest's bounty. No pressure, right? You glance at the reed mat where you'll sleep tonight, your last night as an unmarried woman. The mat's woven tight, but it feels like it might unravel under the weight of what's coming. You hear laughter outside, cousins joking about your groom's clumsy attempts to impress you with his fishing skills. You smirk, but the humor fades fast. Tomorrow, you'll face the first of many rituals, a public cleansing in front of the village elders. Your skin prickles at the thought of their stares. The night air carries the scent of burning myrrh, an offering to Hathor, goddess of love. You wonder if she's listening. You're not just a bride, you're a performer in a sacred play, and the audience includes everyone from your nosy neighbor to the gods above. You lie down, the mat creaking under you, and try to rest. but your mind races with questions. Will you remember the chance? Will the gods approve? And why does everyone keep mentioning crocodiles? Speaking of, here's a light joke to ease the tension. If your groom forgets his lines tomorrow, just hope. He doesn't offer you a crocodile as an apology. They're not great at cuddling. You chuckle softly, but the reality sinks in. This wedding is a marathon, and you're only at the starting line. The village dogs howl in the distance, and you pull your linen shawl tighter. Sleep feels like a distant dream, but you close your eyes, hoping for strength. You're not alone in this. Every bride in your village has faced these rituals, and they've survived. Mostly another joke. At least your dowry didn't include a cranky camel. Those spit worse than your aunt when she's mad. The thought makes you smile, but the weight of tomorrow presses harder. You're about to enter a world of expectations, and the wedding night is just the beginning. You wake to the sound of roosters and the faint hum of village life, your stomach already twisting with nerves. Today, the real scrutiny begins, and you're not just a bride, but a spectacle. The sun creeps over the Nile, painting the reeds gold, and you step outside to face a crowd of relatives and neighbors. Their eyes follow you like hawks, eager to see if you'll falter under the weight of tradition. The air smells of dust and anticipation, and you wish you could hide under your reed mat, but there's no escape. The social stakes of your wedding are climbing higher. You're led to a shaded courtyard where your family has gathered. Their chatter a mix of pride and gossip. In ancient Egypt, weddings aren't private affairs, they're community events. And every move you make will be dissected over bread and beer for weeks. A mainstream historical fact, marriage contracts, often written on papyrus, outline not just dowries but social obligations. Your family's honor hinges on your performance, and so does your groom's. If you stumble, the village will say your union is cursed. No wonder your hands are shaking. The first ritual of the day is a public declaration of intent, and you're pushed toward a low stool in the center of the courtyard. Your future mother-in-law, a woman with a stare sharper than a flint knife, hands you a clay cup filled with a bitter herbal brew. Here's the quirky tidbit. This drink, made from crushed lotus roots and something suspiciously green, is meant to align your spirit with your groom's. It tastes like regret, and you gag slightly, earning a few chuckles from the crowd. You shoot them a look, thinking, try drinking pond water and see how you like it. The elders, draped in white linen, begin chanting, their voices low and rhythmic. You're supposed to sit still, look demure, and not spill the brew. Easier said than done when a fly keeps buzzing around your face. You swat it away and your cousin smirks, whispering that you're tempting bad luck. Great historians still argue whether these public rituals were more about social control or genuine spiritual belief, but to you, it feels like a test you didn't study for. Every glance from the crowd reminds you that failure isn't an option. Your mother steps forward, placing a woven palm frond in your lap. It's a symbol of unity, but it feels like a chain. The crowd expects you to recite a short vow, promising loyalty to your groom and his family. You practiced it last night, but now, with dozens of eyes on you, the words feel slippery. You take a breath and begin, your voice wobbling at first but growing steadier. The elders nod, and you feel a flicker of relief. Then your mother-in-law leans in, muttering about the real test tonight. Your stomach drops. Let's lighten the mood with a joke. If you spill that lotus brew, just say it's an offering to Sobek, the crocodile god. He's probably thirsty, You manage a small smile, but the pressure's mounting. The courtyard is hot, your linen dress sticks to your skin, and the crowd's whispers grow louder. You catch snippets. She's nervous. Her family's dowry was small. Will she please the gods? You want to shout that you're doing your best, but that's not how this works. You're a bride, not a person. Today, the ritual ends with a blessing from the oldest woman in the village, her hands trembling as she smears a dab of honey on your forehead. It's supposed to ensure sweetness in your marriage, but it just attracts more flies. You resist the urge to wipe it off. The crowd disperses, but their judgment lingers like the heat. You're escorted back home to prepare for the next step. A cleansing ceremony that sounds more intimidating than the last. Your sister, trailing behind, teases that you look like you've seen a mummy. Funny, but not helpful. You sit on a wooden bench, sipping water to wash away the bitter aftertaste of the brew. Your mother fusses over your hair, braiding it tightly, to keep evil spirits out. You're starting to think the real evil is this endless parade of rituals. Another joke, at least your groom isn't a pharaoh. Imagine doing this with 300 guests and a live baboon. The thought makes you laugh, but it's fleeting. The day's only half over, and the wedding night looms like a storm cloud. You glance at the Nile, its waters calm but hiding currents beneath. That's you right now, composed on the surface, churning inside. The village expects perfection, and you're determined to deliver, even if it means swallowing more of that awful brew. You stand, ready for the next ordeal, your heart pounding, but your resolve firm. This is your moment, and you'll face it, flies and all. You're ushered back into your family's home, the air cooler but heavy with the scent of burning resin. Your mother and aunts surround you, their hands busy with clay jars and linen cloths. The next ritual, a pre-wedding purification, is about to begin, and you're the star of this uncomfortably intimate show. You stand in the center of the room, feeling like a sacrificial offering, as they prepare to cleanse your body and soul for the gods' approval. The Nile's murmur outside is the only thing keeping you grounded. But even that feels distant now. This purification isn't just a bath. It's a sacred ordeal meant to strip away impurities, both physical and spiritual. A mainstream historical fact, in ancient Egypt, cleanliness is next to godliness, and brides undergo elaborate cleansing rituals to ensure they're worthy of marriage. Priests often oversee these ceremonies, believing that any lingering taint could anger deities, like Hathor or Base, who guard love and childbirth. You're not thrilled about the priestess hovering nearby, her coal-lined eyes watching your every move. Your aunts begin the ritual by pouring water from a wide-mouthed jar over your shoulders. It's not the refreshing Nile water you'd hoped, but a cloudy mix infused with myrrh and crushed acacia leaves. Here's the quirky tidbit. The mixture includes a pinch of ground ostrich eggshell, believed to ward off evil spirits. It smells like a swamp and feels gritty against your skin, like you're being scrubbed with sand. You wince as an ant rubs it into your arms, muttering prayers to Isis. You're tempted to ask if Isis minds the smell, but you bite your tongue. The priestess steps forward, waving a sistrum, its metal rings jingling in a hypnotic rhythm. She chants about your purity, her voice low and commanding. You're supposed to stand still, but the water's cold, and the eggshell grit is starting to itch. You shift slightly, earning a sharp glance from your mother. The room feels smaller. Now, the weight of their expectations pressing in. Historians still argue whether these rituals were truly spiritual or just a way to enforce social conformity. But to you, it's a performance you can't afford to botch. Your aunt starts scrubbing your feet, and you nearly giggle at the ticklish sensation. You cover it with a cough, but your younger cousin, peeking from the doorway, smirks. She's next in line for this someday, and you hope she's taking notes. The scrubbing intensifies, and you're told to focus on cleansing your heart. You're not sure how foot scrubbing achieves that, but you nod anyway. The priestess sprinkles more water, and a stray droplet lands in your eye. Perfect. You blink it away, trying to look serene. Let's toss in a joke. If this purification fails, maybe you can blame the ostrich for laying a cursed egg. You smirk at the thought, but the humor fades as the priestess hands you a small linen cloth soaked in the same gritty mixture. You're supposed to wipe your face with it, a symbolic act of shedding your old self. The cloth feels like it's exfoliating your soul, and not in a good way. You dab gently, hoping you don't look like you've been wrestling a hippo. The ritual drags on, with more chants and more water. Your skin's starting to feel raw, but your mother whispers that this is the price of divine favor. You're not convinced Hathor cares this much about your elbows, but you don't argue. The priestess finally signals the end by burning a small bundle of herbs, the smoke curling upward like a prayer. You're pronounced pure, and the room exhales. Your aunts smile, but you catch their sideways glances, as if they're still sizing you up. You're wrapped in a clean linen shawl, the fabric soft against your irritated skin. The priestess leaves, but her words linger. The gods are watching. You glance at the ceiling, half expecting to see Anubis lurking in the rafters. Another joke. At least Anubis would be a quiet guest. He's too busy weighing hearts too. Gossip. You chuckle under your breath, but the next ritual looms. You're told to rest before the beauty preparations, but rest feels impossible with the village's eyes still on you. You sit on a low stool, sipping barley water your cousin sneaks you. It's the first normal thing you've tasted all day, and you savor it. Outside, the sun climbs higher, and you hear children playing, oblivious to the weight of adulthood. You envy them. The purification has left you clean but rattled, and you know this is just the warm-up. The wedding night's rituals are closer now, and you're starting to understand why every bride looks haunted. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself for what's next. You're led to a small room at the back of the house, where the air smells of beeswax and crushed flowers. The purification ritual has left your skin tingling. But now you face a new challenge, transforming into the ideal Egyptian bride. The village expects you to look flawless, a living offering to both your groom and the gods. Your aunts bustle around, laying out jars of ointments and tools that look more suited for a craftsman than a bride. You sit on a cushioned stool, feeling like a statue about to be carved, and wonder how you'll survive this beauty gauntlet. In ancient Egypt, appearance isn't just vanity, it's a social contract, a mainstream historical fact. Brides are expected to embody divine beauty, reflecting the perfection of goddesses like Hathor. Your face, hair, and body must meet strict standards, not for your groom's sake, but for the community's approval. One wrong shade of kohl or a messy braid could spark whispers that you're unfit for marriage. The pressure makes your palms sweat, and you grip the stool to steady yourself. Your mother starts with your hair, unbraiding it with quick, practiced fingers. She reaches for a jar of thick, glossy paste made from castor oil and crushed hibiscus petals. Here's the quirky tidbit. This mixture, which smells faintly of overripe fruit, is laced with powdered malachite, a green mineral believed to enhance your divine allure. It's supposed to make your hair shine like the Nile under moonlight, but it feels like smearing mud on your scalp. You grimace as she works it in, and your cousin, hovering nearby, stifles a laugh. You shoot her a playful glare, wishing you could trade places. The hair treatment takes forever, and you're told to sit still while it binds your spirit to beauty. You're not sure what that means, but you comply, even as a stray drip slides down your neck. Next comes the face, and your aunt produces a small reed brush and a pot of black coal. She paints thick lines around your eyes, extending them toward your temples to mimic the falcon gaze of Horus. It's heavy, and you blink rapidly, trying not to smudge it. Historians still argue whether these beauty rituals were purely aesthetic or carried magical significance. But to you, it feels like a test of endurance. Your mother moves to your cheeks, dabbing on a red ochre paste to give you a healthy glow. It's gritty, and you're pretty sure you look like you've been slapped by a potter. You catch your reflection in a polished copper mirror, and the exaggerated kohl makes you look like a stranger. You joke to yourself, if your groom doesn't recognize you, maybe you can sneak off and avoid the wedding night. The thought makes you smirk, but your aunt's stern look snaps you back to reality. Now for your hands. Your cousin, eager to help, grabs a paste of henna and lemon juice to stain your palms with intricate patterns. The designs, swirling like the Nile's currents, are meant to bring fertility and luck. You're not convinced a hand tattoo will help, but the cool paste feels nice against your skin. You wiggle your fingers, admiring the artistry, until your mother scolds you to hold still. Another joke, at least if the marriage fails, you'll have the best decorated hands in the village. Your cousin giggles, and you feel a flicker of warmth amidst the chaos. The final touch is a perfumed oil, extracted from lotus flowers, which your aunt rubs into your shoulders. It smells divine, but the slickness makes you feel like a greased offering. You're told it's to please the gods, but you suspect it's just to make you smell better than the ostrich eggshell scrub from earlier. Remember that gritty bath? This is the opposite, but it's no less overwhelming. The room spins with scents and voices, and you long for a moment of quiet. Your mother steps back, inspecting you like a merchant appraising a bolt of linen. She nods, but her eyes linger on your kohl, as if one smudge could doom the marriage. The village expects a bride who looks like a goddess, and you're trying your best, even if you feel more like a painted doll. You stand, your head heavy with oil and expectations, and catch a glimpse of the sun sinking outside. The beauty rituals are done, but the day's not over. Next, you'll face the gods themselves, and the thought sends a shiver down your spine. You take a sip of water, the only thing keeping you from melting under the weight of your new look. Your cousin whispers that you look almost divine, and you roll your eyes, grateful for her teasing. The room feels too small, the air too thick. But you're one step closer to the wedding night. You brace yourself, knowing the real trials are still ahead. You step out of the cramped room, your freshly oiled skin catching the late afternoon light. The village hums with activity, but all eyes seem to turn toward you, the bride-to-be. Now painted and polished like a temple statue, your next task is to face the gods, a ritual to secure their blessing for your marriage. You'll lead toward a small shrine at the village's edge, where a statue of Hathor, goddess of love, looms under a canopy of woven reeds. The air smells of incense and warm earth, and you feel a weight in your chest, as if the gods are already judging you. This divine encounter isn't just a formality, it's a make-or-break moment. A mainstream historical fact. In ancient Egypt, gods like Hathor and Ammon are believed to oversee every marriage, and their displeasure could curse your union with barrenness or misfortune. You're expected to offer gifts and prayers to prove your worth, and the whole village will know if you falter. Your mother walks beside you, her hand firm on your arm, whispering reminders to stay composed. You nod, but your coal-lined eyes feel heavy, and you're still adjusting to the henna patterns curling across your palms. At the shrine, a priestess awaits, her linen robe stark white against the dusk. She hands you a small basket of offerings, dried dates, a vial of honey, and a single blue lotus flower. Here's the quirky tidbit. The lotus is sprinkled with powdered lapis lazuli, a gemstone thought to channel Hathor's favor. It sparkles faintly, but you're more focused on not dropping the basket. The priestess raises an eyebrow, as if she senses your nerves, and you force a smile. You're not sure if you're fooling her or the gods. You kneel before the statue, its cow-horned head gazing down with unsettling calm. The priestess begins a chant, her voice weaving through the air like smoke. You're supposed to repeat her words, a plea for Hathor's blessing, but the phrases are complex, full of ancient epithets like mistress of the sky. You stumble over one, and the priestess pauses, her silence louder than the chant. Your cheeks burn, and you try again, getting it right this time. Historians still argue whether these divine rituals were heartfelt or just elaborate theater to appease the community. But to you, the stakes feel all too real. The offerings come next. You place the dates and honey at the statue's base, your hands trembling slightly. The lotus flower is trickier. You're told to tuck it into a niche in the shrine, a symbolic act of binding your love. Your fingers fumble, and the flower nearly falls. You catch it just in time, and your cousin, watching from the crowd, stifles a giggle. You shoot her a look, half amused, half annoyed. Let's add a joke. If Hathor rejects your lotus, maybe you can bribe her with extra dates. You smirk, but the priestess's stare keeps you focused. The crowd around the shrine grows, neighbors craning their necks to see if you'll pass this test. You feel their expectations like a physical weight, heavier than the castor oil still slick in your hair. Remember that beauty ritual. It was child's play compared to this. You stand, following the priestess's gesture, and sprinkle a pinch of barley grain before the statue, a final plea for fertility. The grains scatter, and you hope they're enough to sway Hathor, or at least distract her from your shaky chanting. The priestess nods, signaling the ritual's end, and the crowd murmurs its approval. You exhale, but the relief is short-lived. Your mother whispers that the god's judgment won't be clear until the wedding night, when your purity faces its final test. You swallow hard, wishing you could stay here, kneeling in the quiet shrine, instead of facing what's next. The air grows cooler, and the Nile's distant ripple feels like a faint reassurance. But it's not enough to calm your racing heart. Another joke, if Hathor's too busy to bless you. Maybe Base, the dwarf god, will pinch hit. He's got a soft spot for brides. You smile faintly, clutching the empty basket as you lead back toward the village. The shrine fades behind you, but Hathor's stone eyes seem to follow. You're one step closer to the wedding night, and the rituals are only getting stranger. Your mother pats your arm, saying you did well, but her voice carries a warning. The gods are fickle, and you're not done proving yourself. You pause by a tamarisk tree, catching your breath. The village glows with torchlight now, and you hear laughter and music in the distance. It's almost festive, but you feel like you're walking into a storm. You tighten your grip on the lotus-scented shawl around your shoulders, steeling yourself for the next ordeal. The gods may be watching, but so is everyone else, and you're determined to keep going, even if your knees feel like they might give out. You trudge back toward the village, the torchlight casting long shadows as the evening deepens. The shrine ritual has left you rattled, but there's no time to catch your breath. Now, the pressure shifts to your fertility, a topic everyone seems far too interested in. You're led to a communal courtyard where women from both families wait, their faces a mix of encouragement and scrutiny. The air smells of roasted barley and sweet wine, but the festive mood feels like a trap. You're about to face rituals designed to ensure you'll produce heirs, and the weight of that expectation makes your stomach churn. In ancient Egypt, fertility isn't just a personal matter. It's a communal obsession, a mainstream historical fact. A bride's ability to bear children is seen as a divine mandate, tied to the Nile's floods and the land's prosperity. If you fail to conceive quickly, the village might blame you for everything from bad harvests to sick livestock. No pressure, right? Your mother-in-law, standing nearby with a clay figurine of Tauret, the hippo goddess of childbirth, gives you a look that says, "Don't mess this up." You wish you could hide behind the nearest palm tree. The women form a circle around you, and an elder hands you a small linen pouch filled with dried herbs and what looks like tiny bones. Here's the quirky tidbit. The pouch contains crushed fennel seeds and the vertebrae of a Nile perch, believed to awaken your womb. You're supposed to tie it around your waist, but the smell is pungent, like fish left too long in the sun. You fumble with the knot, and your cousin, ever unhelpful, whispers that you smell like a fisherman's net. You roll your eyes, tempted to toss the pouch at her. The elder begins a chant, invoking Tauret and Isis to bless your future children. You're expected to sway in rhythm, but you feel awkward, like you're dancing to music you can't hear. The women join in, their voices rising and falling, and you try to match their movements. Your linen dress, still heavy with lotus oil, from the beauty ritual, sticks to your skin, making every step a struggle. Historians still argue whether these fertility rituals were symbolic or rooted in practical medicine. But to you, it's just another hoop to jump through, and you're not sure you're landing gracefully. Next, you're handed a cup of thick, syrupy liquid, a mix of date juice and ground coriander. You're told it strengthens your seed, whatever that means. It tastes like sweetened mud, and you force it down, trying not to gag. The women cheer as if you've just slain a lion, and you manage a weak smile. Your mother pats your shoulder, but her grip is firm, a reminder that failure isn't an option. You glance at the figurine of Tauret, its hippo snout oddly comforting, and hope she's on your side. Let's lighten the mood with a joke. If this fishbone pouch doesn't work, maybe you can use it to catch dinner instead. You smirk, but the humor fades as the elder pulls you to the center of the circle. She places a garland of lotus flowers around your neck, each petal dusted with saffron for life-giving power. The garland is beautiful but heavy, and you feel like a decorated offering. Remember that Hathor shrine. This feels like its louder, nosier cousin, with every eye on you and no room for mistakes. The chanting grows louder, and you're told to walk around the circle, a symbolic journey to motherhood. Your bare feet scuff the dusty ground, and you try to look confident, even as the pouch bounces against your hip. A child in the crowd giggles, pointing at your awkward sway, and you can't help but laugh. Another joke, at least if you trip, You can blame the hippo goddess for not holding you up. The women don't notice your amusement. They're too busy singing about abundant harvests and healthy sons. The ritual ends with a final prayer, the elders sprinkling water over your head. It's not the gritty natron mix from the purification bath, thank goodness, but it's still cold and you shiver. The women disperse, some offering you smiles, others whispering among themselves. You catch a snippet. She drank the juice. That's a good sign. You sigh, wishing they'd talk about something else, like the weather. Your mother-in-law hands you the turret figurine to keep, a reminder of what's at stake. You slip away to a quiet corner of the courtyard, clutching the figurine. The night air is cooler now, and the stars blink above, indifferent to your worries. You're exhausted, but the wedding night looms closer, and these fertility rituals are just the beginning. You tuck the fishy pouch under your dress, hoping it works, or at least stops smelling. The villagers' expectations feel like a net, and you're caught in it, but you take a deep breath, ready for the next step. You're guided back to your family's home, the turret figurine still clutched in your hand, its smooth clay warm from your grip. The night is deepening, and the village glows with flickering torches, but the festive hum feels distant. Now, you face the cosmetic rituals, a final layer of adornment to make you irresistible, not just to your groom, but to the divine forces watching. Your aunts are waiting, their faces lit with a mix of excitement and urgency as they prepare to paint and perfume you into a vision of perfection. The air smells of jasmine and wax, and you brace yourself for another round of transformation. In ancient Egypt, cosmetics aren't mere decoration. They're a sacred art, a mainstream historical fact. Makeup is believed to protect against evil, spirits, and enhance your connection to the gods, especially for brides. Your face must be a canvas of divine beauty, or you risk displeasing Hathor and inviting bad luck. Your mother hands you a polished obsidian mirror, and you catch a glimpse of your kohl-lined eyes, already dramatic from earlier. You're about to look even less like yourself, and the thought makes you nervous. An ant produces a small alabaster jar filled with a creamy paste, its scent sharp and floral. Here's the quirky tidbit. This is a blend of goose fat, myrrh, and ground carnelian, a red stone thought to ignite passion. You're supposed to smear it on your lips and cheeks, but the idea of goose fat on your face makes you cringe. Your cousin, hovering as usual, whispers that you'll smell like a fancy duck. You stifle a laugh, but the ant's glare shuts you both up. She dips a reed brush into the jar and starts painting your lips, the paste thick and sticky. It feels like you're wearing a mask, and not the fun kind. The application is meticulous, and you're told to purse your lips to set the charm. You comply, but the paste tastes faintly of rancid oil, and you pray your groom isn't expecting a kiss anytime soon. Next comes a dusting of green malachite powder on your eyelids, applied with a tiny bone spatula. It's supposed to mimic the lush fields of the afterlife, but it just makes your eyes itch. Historians still argue whether these cosmetics were purely symbolic or had medicinal properties, but to you, it's another test of endurance. And your patience is wearing thin. Your aunt moves to your neck, dabbing it with a perfume made from lotus and frankincense. The scent is intoxicating, curling through the air like a spell, and for a moment you feel almost divine. Then she adds a necklace of faience beads, each one carved with tiny ankh symbols for life. The beads are heavy, clinking with every move, and you wonder if you'll jingle through the entire wedding night. Let's toss in a joke. If the gods don't like your makeup, maybe they'll be distracted by your new percussion skills. You smirk, but the aunt's focused, adjusting the necklace like it's a matter of life and death. Your mother steps in, brushing your hair with a comb made of carved acacia wood. She weaves in strands of gold thread, a gift from your groom's family, to bind your fates. The threads catch the torchlight, and you feel a flicker of pride, even if your scalp aches from the tight braids. Remember that castor oil paste from the beauty ritual. This is its glamorous cousin, but it's no less overwhelming. Your reflection in the mirror shows a stranger, her face bold and otherworldly, and you're not sure if you're ready to be her. The final touch is a pair of turquoise earrings, shaped like scarabs for rebirth. They're beautiful, but pinch your earlobes, and you resist the urge to yank them off. Your cousin, still lurking, says you look like a goddess, but her grin suggests she's picturing the goose fat. Another joke: if your groom faints at the sight of you, blame the scarabs. They're clearly stealing the show. You chuckle softly, but the room's growing hotter, and the weight of the cosmetics feels like a second skin. Your aunts step back, admiring their work, and your mother nods approvingly. You're pronounced ready for the next ritual, but you feel like you've been dipped in a temple's worth of offerings. The village expects a bride who dazzles, and you're trying, even if you'd rather be splashing in the Nile. You stand, the beads clinking, and catch a whiff of the myrrh perfume. It's lovely, but it can't mask the anxiety bubbling inside you. The wedding night is closer now, and these cosmetics are just another layer of expectation. You pause by the doorway, glancing at the starry sky. The village pulses with music and laughter, but you feel like you're in a different world, one where every brushstroke carries a prayer. You take a deep breath, the scent of lotus grounding you, and step forward, ready for whatever comes next. Even if your lips taste like goose fat. You step into the torchlit courtyard, your scarab earrings glinting and the weight of your cosmetics making you feel like a walking shrine. The village hums with anticipation, but now you face a solemn moment, reciting sacred oaths to bind your marriage before the gods and the community. A crowd has gathered, their faces a blur of curiosity and judgment, as you're led to a raised platform draped with linen. The air smells of burnt offerings and Nile mud, and you clutch the Tauret figurine from earlier, hoping it brings you strength. Your heart pounds, knowing every word you speak will be weighed like gold in ancient Egypt. Marriage vows aren't romantic promises, but divine contracts. A mainstream historical fact. These oaths, often overseen by priests, invoke gods like Amen and Mut to ensure loyalty, fertility, and social harmony. Messing up could signal divine disapproval, and the village would never let you forget it. A priest stands before you, his shaved head gleaming, holding a papyrus scroll with the vows. Your mother-in-law, hovering nearby, gives you a look that could curdle milk. You swallow hard, wishing you could trade places with the Nile perch in that fertility pouch. The priest hands you a small clay tablet inscribed with hieroglyphs, your guide for the oaths. Here's the quirky tidbit. The tablet is dusted with powdered saffron, believed to carry your words to the gods. It smells like a spice market, and you're worried you'll sneeze mid-vow. You hold it carefully, your henna-stained fingers trembling, and your cousin, watching from the crowd, mimics a dramatic sneeze. You shoot her a playful glare, but the priest's stern voice snaps you back. He begins chanting, and you're expected to repeat each line, word for word, in front of everyone. The first oath is to Amen, promising fidelity to your groom. The words are heavy, full of phrases like eternal bond and divine order. You stumble slightly, and the crowd murmurs. The priest pauses, and you feel the weight of 100 eyes. You try again, your voice steadier, and manage to get through it. Historians still argue whether these vows were legally binding or purely ceremonial. But to you, they feel like chains, each syllable locking you into a role you're not sure you're ready for. Next comes an oath to Mut, goddess of motherhood, pledging to honor your new family. Your voice wavers, and you grip the tablet so tightly the saffron dust sticks to your palms. The priest's chant is relentless, and you struggle to keep up, your coal-heavy eyes burning from the torch smoke. Your mother, standing nearby, mouths the words, trying to help. You appreciate it, but it's hard to focus when you're worried about sneezing or forgetting a line. The crowd's silence is deafening, and you pray Mut isn't as picky as the priest. Let's add a joke. If you sneeze on the tablet, just say it's an offering to the wind god, Shu. You smirk, but the humor fades as you move to the final oath. A promise to uphold Mat, the principle of balance. This one's shorter, but the priest's gaze makes it feel like an eternity. You finish, and the crowd exhales, a few clapping softly. The priest nods, but his expression says, "You're not out of the woods yet." You hand back the tablet, your fingers orange with saffron, and step down. Your legs wobbly, dot the crowd parts, whispering about your performance. You catch a snippet. She hesitated on Mut's vow. Great, more gossip. Your mother-in-law approaches, offering a tight smile and a warning to speak clearer next time. You nod, biting back a retort. Remember that lotus garland from the fertility ritual? Its weight feels light compared to these oaths. Another joke, at least the gods didn't ask you to swear on a crocodile. Those bite harder than your in. You chuckle under your breath, but the next ritual looms, and you're not sure how much more you can take. You're led to a bench to rest, the faience beads of your necklace clinking softly. The night air is cool, but your skin feels hot under the layers of makeup and expectation. You sip water, the taste cutting through the saffron, lingering on your lips. The village pulses with music, but you feel like you're in a different world, one where every word is a test. Your cousin sneaks you a date fruit, and you eat it gratefully, savoring the sweetness. The oaths are done, but the wedding nights. Rituals are creeping closer, and you're starting to dread what's next. You glance at the stars, their steady glow a small comfort. The priest's voice echoes in your mind, and you wonder if the gods are truly listening. You tighten your grip. On the Taurit figurine, its hippo snout oddly reassuring, and stand, ready for the next step, even if your voice still shakes. You're ushered from the courtyard, the weight of the sacred oaths still clinging to you like the saffron dust on your fingers. The village is alive with torchlight and chatter, but you're led to a quieter corner of your family's home, where the next challenge awaits, donning the ceremonial bridal attire. Your aunts are already there, fussing over a pile of linen and jewelry that looks more like a pharaoh's treasury than a wedding outfit. The air smells of cedarwood and fresh reeds, and you feel a mix of awe and dread as you realize you're about to be dressed like a living goddess, with all the discomfort that entails. In ancient Egypt, a bride's attire isn't just clothing. It's a statement of divine and social status, a mainstream historical fact. Bridal garments are often elaborately woven and adorned with symbols of fertility and protection, meant to honor the gods and signal the bride's new role. Your outfit must be perfect, or you risk gossip that your marriage is doomed. Your mother holds up a long, pleated linen dress, its fabric shimmering in the lamplight, and you know there's no escaping the ordeal of putting it on. An ant on. The dress, revealing intricate embroidery of lotus flowers and ankhs along the hem. Here's the quirky tidbit. The dress is weighted with tiny amethyst beads sewn into the seams, believed to anchor your soul during the wedding night. They're beautiful but heavy, and as you slip into the garment, it feels like you're wearing a sack of grain. Your cousin, ever present, whispers that you look like a fancy mummy. You shoot her a mock scowl, but the dress's tightness makes it hard to breathe, let alone laugh. The fitting process is grueling. Your aunts tug and adjust, ensuring every pleat falls perfectly. The beads clink with every move, and you're told to stand still to let the gods approve the fit. You're not sure Amon cares about your hemline, but you comply, even as the fabric chafes your shoulders. Historians still argue whether these heavy garments were purely ceremonial or meant to physically challenge the bride. But to you, it's a test of endurance, and your back is already aching. Next comes a wide collar necklace, made of turquoise and carnelian beads, strung in geometric patterns. It's stunning, but feels like a yoke, pressing against your collarbone. Your mother fastens it, her fingers gentle but firm, and you catch her proud smile. You try to smile back, but the necklace's weight makes you feel like you're sinking. Into the Nile, remember that faience bead necklace from the cosmetic ritual. This is its overbearing older sibling, and you're not sure you can handle both. Your aunts add a belt of woven reeds, tied with a knot shaped like the ankh symbol. It's supposed to ensure eternal life for your marriage, but it digs into your waist, and you shift uncomfortably. Your cousin, catching your grimace, mimics tying a knot so tight she can't breathe. Let's add a joke. If this belt gets any tighter, you'll be offering your lungs to Anubis. You smirk, but the ant's focus is unrelenting, and you're starting to feel like a decorated offering rather than a bride. The final piece is a diaphanous veil, so fine it looks like woven moonlight. Your mother drapes it over your hair, the gold threads from earlier catching its edges. The veil is meant to shield you from evil spirits, but it keeps slipping, and you're worried you'll trip during the ceremony. An aunt pins it with a scarab-shaped clasp, and you wince as it grazes your scalp. Another joke. If the veil falls, just say it's a gift to the floor gods. You chuckle softly, but the weight of the attire is no laughing matter. Your aunts step back, admiring their work, and your mother hands you the obsidian mirror. You barely recognize the figure staring back, a goddess-like bride, but one who's sweating under layers of linen and beads. The village expects perfection, and you're trying, even if you feel like a walking temple. You take a shaky breath, the cedarwood scent grounding you, and prepare to face the next ritual. The wedding night is closer, and this attire, the beautiful, feels like armor for a battle you're not sure you'll win. You're led to a stool to rest, the amethyst beads clinking as you sit. The room feels too warm, the lamplight too bright, and you long for the cool Nile breeze. Your cousin sneaks you a sip of water, and you drink gratefully, careful not to smudge your goose-fat lipstick. The villagers' music grows louder outside, a reminder of the crowd waiting to judge you. You adjust the veil, hoping it stays put, and brace yourself for the next step, your heart heavy but your resolve firm. You step out into the night, the heavy bridal attire clinking and swaying with every move, your veil catching the torchlight like a faint halo. The village is no longer a backdrop, it's a stage, and you're the centerpiece of a public spectacle. You're led toward the central square, where a crowd has gathered, their faces lit with curiosity and expectation. The air smells of roasted sesame and spilled beer, and you feel the weight of their stares, each one a reminder that your wedding is their entertainment. Your heart races, but you lift your chin, determined to play your part. In ancient Egypt, weddings are communal affairs, not private moments. A mainstream historical fact: the public procession of the bride through the village is a key ritual, symbolizing the union of two families and the community's role in upholding it. Every step you take is scrutinized, from the grace of your walk to the perfection of your attire. One misstep, and the gossip will outlast the Nile's floods. Your mother walks beside you, her hand light on your arm, but her whispered "don't trip" feels like a command carved in stone. As you reach the square, a group of women begins singing, their voices high and rhythmic, accompanied by the soft thump of a drum. Here's the quirky tidbit: the song includes a verse about a mythical ibis that carries love across the stars, and you're supposed to toss a handful of barley grains into the air to honor it. A young girl hands you a small clay bowl filled with the grains, and you hesitate, worried you'll scatter them on someone's head. Your cousin, weaving through the crowd, mimes a dramatic toss, nearly spilling her own imaginary grains. You stifle a laugh, but the crowd's watching, and you focus. You toss the barley, and it arcs through the air, catching the torchlight before scattering across the ground. The crowd cheers, and you exhale, relieved you didn't hit the village elder in the face. The singing grows louder, and you're expected to walk a slow circuit around the square, your amethyst-weighted dress dragging in the dust. Historians still argue whether these processions were about community bonding or a display of social control. But to you, it feels like a parade where you're both the star and the target. Every eye tracks your movements, and you pray your veil doesn't slip. The drumbeat quickens, and you're guided toward a wooden platform where your groom's family waits. Your future mother-in-law, her expression as warm as a desert noon, hands you a palm frond to wave, a symbol of victory in your new role. It's heavier than it looks, and your arm aches from the effort. You wave it awkwardly, and a child in the crowd giggles, mimicking your stiff movements. Let's add a joke. If you drop this frond, just say it's an offering to the dust gods. You smirk, but the effort of looking graceful is exhausting, and you're only halfway through the circuit. The crowd presses closer, shouting blessings, mixed with advice you didn't ask for. Smile more. Walk taller. You catch a glimpse of your groom, standing at the edge of the square, his face unreadable. You wonder if he's as nervous as you, but there's no time to dwell. Your mother nudges you to keep moving, and you do, the faience beads of your necklace clinking like a metronome. Remember that saffron-dusted tablet from the oath ritual. Its weight was nothing compared to this public performance, and you're starting to miss its quiet solemnity as you complete the circuit. The singing fades, and an elder steps forward to sprinkle you with water from a silver bowl, a blessing for prosperity. It's cold, and you flinch, earning a few chuckles from the crowd. You force a smile, hoping it looks serene rather than pained. Another joke: at least this water's cleaner than that ostrich ked shell scrub from the purification bath. The thought makes you grin, but your mother-in-law's stare wipes it away. She gestures for you to step off the platform, and you do. Your legs shaky but holding. The crowd disperses slowly, some lingering to gossip about your performance. You hear a whisper. She tossed the grains well, but her wave was weak. You sigh, wishing you could toss more than grains at them. Your mother leads you to a shaded corner, where you sit, the palm frond still in your hand. The night air is warm, and the stars above feel distant, unmoved by your ordeal. The public spectacle is over, But the wedding night's rituals are next, and you're not sure you're ready for what they'll demand. You sip water from a clay cup, the coolness soothing your dry throat. Your cousin sneaks over, offering a teasing bow as if you're royalty. You roll your eyes, grateful for her lightness. The village hums with celebration, but you feel like you've run a marathon in a linen tomb. You adjust your veil, hoping it survives the night, and brace yourself for the next step, your resolve as firm as the Nile's banks. You're led from the bustling square, your palm frond now tucked under your arm like an awkward trophy. The village's festive hum fades as you approach your groom's family home, a mud brick structure glowing with lamplight. The wedding night rituals are beginning, and you're about to enter the sacred marriage chamber, a space heavy with tradition and expectation. The air smells of warm wax and faint myrrh, and your stomach twists as you realize this is where the real test unfolds. Your veil snags on a doorframe, and you free it with a nervous tug, hoping it's not a bad omen. In ancient Egypt, the wedding night isn't just a private moment. It's a ritualized performance. A mainstream historical fact, the consummation of marriage is seen as a divine act, blessed by gods like Base and Hathor, and its success is believed to ensure fertility and cosmic balance. The chamber is no ordinary bedroom, but a consecrated space prepared with symbols and offerings to ward off evil. Your mother-in-law guides you inside, her silence louder than words, and you feel the weight of her expectations pressing harder than your amethyst-weighted dress. The room is small, its walls painted with images of lotus flowers and protective eyes. A low bed, draped with linen, sits in the center, surrounded by clay jars of oil and incense burners. Here's the quirky tidbit. One jar contains a paste of honey and crocodile dung, believed to enhance passion if smeared on the bed. You catch a whiff of it and nearly gag, wondering who thought crocodiles were romantic. Your cousin, trailing behind, wrinkles her nose and whispers that you're braver than she is. You manage a weak smile, but the sight of the bed makes your heart race. A priestess enters, her sistrum jingling softly, and begins chanting to invoke Base, the dwarf god who guards against evil spirits. You're supposed to kneel beside the bed, but your heavy dress makes it a clumsy affair, and you nearly tip over. The priestess doesn't blink, but your cousin stifles a giggle, and you shoot her a look. Historians still argue whether these chamber rituals were deeply spiritual or partly theatrical, meant to impress the community, but to you, it feels like a stage where one wrong move could ruin everything. The priestess hands you a small linen cloth, embroidered with an ankh, and instructs you to place it on the bed as a seal of union. Your hands shake as you lay it down, the fabric catching on a splinter. You smooth it quickly, hoping Base isn't picky about wrinkles. The air grows thicker with incense, and you feel lightheaded, the weight of the moment sinking in. Your mother-in-law watches from the doorway, her presence a reminder that this night isn't just about you and your groom, but about two families and a village waiting for proof of success. Let's lighten the mood with a joke. If that crocodile paste fails, maybe you can use it to scare off nosy in. You smirk, but the priestess's chant pulls you back. She sprinkles the bed with water from a silver bowl, murmuring about fertility and divine favor. You're told to repeat a short prayer, but the words feel foreign, and you stumble, earning a sharp glance from your mother-in-law. You try again, your voice barely audible over the sistrum's jingle, and manage to finish. The priestess nods, but you're not sure if it's approval or pity. Your groom enters, his face a mix of nerves and determination, and the room feels even smaller. The priestess gestures for him to stand beside you, and you both face the bed. The linen cloth, a silent challenge. The crowd outside, though unseen, feels present, their expectations seeping through the walls. Remember that public procession. This is its private counterpart, and it's far more daunting. Another joke, at least there's no drumbeat in here. You'd probably trip over the bed if there was. You chuckle under your breath, but your groom's tense posture keeps you focused. The priestess leaves, her sistrum fading, and you're alone with your groom, the incense curling like a third presence. Your mother-in-law lingers a moment longer, whispering that the gods are watching before slipping out. You glance at the bed, the honey-dung jar glinting in the lamplight, and wonder how you'll navigate this. The village expects a fruitful union, and you're trying, even if the rituals feel like a labyrinth. You take a deep breath, the myrrh grounding you, and brace yourself for what's next. Your heart pounding like a drum you can't ignore. You sit on the bed's edge, the linen creaking under your weight. Your groom shifts awkwardly, and you catch his eye, sharing a fleeting moment of mutual dread. The chamber's walls seem to close in, but you adjust your veil, determined to face this ritual. Even if the crocodile paste is the worst wingman. In history, the night stretches ahead, and you know the village is waiting, their whispers already forming. You sit on the edge of the marriage bed, the linen cloth beneath you a stark reminder of the ritual's weight. The chamber's air is thick with myrrh and tension, the lamplight flickering across your groom's nervous face. The door is closed, but the villagers' expectations linger. And now you're tasked with adorning yourself with protective amulets to shield your union from malevolent forces. Your mother-in-law left a small reed basket by the bed, filled with charms, and you're expected to wear them through the night. The scent of honey and that wretched crocodile paste lingers, and you wish you could open a window to clear your head. In ancient Egypt, amulets aren't mere jewelry, they're spiritual. Armor, a mainstream historical fact. Brides and grooms wear specific charms during the wedding night to ward off the evil eye and ensure divine protection, especially from spirits that target new unions. These amulets are blessed by priests, and their power is taken seriously. Your groom shifts beside you, his own set of charms clinking softly, and you feel a pang of solidarity. You're both in this strange ritual together. Even if the basket's contents look like a sorcerer's leftovers, you reach into the basket and pull out a small faience amulet shaped like a wedged eye, the symbol of Horus's protection. Here's the quirky tidbit. It's tied with a cord dyed red with madder root, believed to bind the charm's power to your soul. The cord is stiff, and as you try to tie it around your wrist, it snags on your henna patterns. Your cousin's teasing voice echoes in your mind, saying you're wrestling a snake. You smirk, but the knot's tricky, and your groom leans over to help, his fingers brushing yours. It's the first gentle moment in this chaotic night, and you're grateful. Even if the amulet feels like overkill, the priestess's earlier chants about base still ring in your ears, and you're told to wear each amulet with intention. Next is a tiny scarab carved from turquoise, meant to ensure rebirth and fertility. You hang it around your neck, where it clinks against the carnelian collar from your bridal attire. The weight is absurd, and you feel like a walking talisman shop. Historians still argue whether these amulets were genuinely believed to hold power, or were more about reassuring anxious families. But to you, they're a reminder that every step of this night is watched, even by invisible eyes. You pull out a third amulet, a miniature ankh made of polished bone, and tie it to your ankle, per tradition. The bone is smooth but cold, and you shiver as it touches your skin. Your groom, fumbling with his own scarab, drops it, and it rolls under the bed. You both freeze, then laugh, the sound cutting through the room's heaviness. Let's add a joke. If Bass is watching, he's probably chuckling at your grooms. Butterfingers. You grin, and for a moment, the ritual feels less like a trial. You help him retrieve the scarab, the dust under the bed sticking to your fingers, and you both sit up, catching your breath. The basket isn't empty yet. There's a small clay charm shaped like a frog, sacred to Hecate, goddess of childbirth. You're supposed to tuck it into your dress, close to your heart. But the idea of a frog against your chest is almost as bad as that crocodile paste. You hesitate, and your groom raises an eyebrow, sensing your reluctance. You sigh and slip it in, the clay cool against your skin. Remember that fishbone pouch from the fertility ritual. This frog is its spiritual cousin, and you're starting to think the gods have a weird sense of humor. The final amulet is a tiny knot of linen, soaked in myrrh and tied with a thread. You're told to hold it during the night to seal your bond. You clutch it, the myrrh's scent mingling with the room's incense, and feel a flicker of hope that these charms might actually work. Your groom finishes tying his last amulet, a miniature Jed PR, and you exchange a look, both exhausted but determined. Another joke: if these amulets fail, maybe you can trade them for a quieter wedding next time. You chuckle, but the reality of the night presses in, and you know the rituals aren't over. You adjust the wedged eye on your wrist, its cord finally secure, and glance at the bed. The linen cloth, the incense, the amulets, all of it feels like a puzzle you're still solving. The village outside is quieter now, but their expectations linger, and you're hyper-aware of the stakes. You take a deep breath, the frog charm shifting against your chest, and prepare for the next step. Your groom squeezes your hand, a small gesture that steadies you, and you face the night together, amulets and all. You lean back against the bed's wooden frame, the scarabs and ankhs clinking softly. The lamplight casts shadows on the painted walls, and you wonder if Horus or Hecate is truly watching. The chamber feels like a cocoon, both safe and suffocating, and you hold the linen knot tighter, hoping it's enough to carry you through. You sit in the marriage chamber, the amulets wait, a constant reminder of the night's gravity, their faint clinks echoing in the quiet. The lamplight dances on the walls, but the air grows heavier as your mother-in-law slips back into the room, her presence like a sudden gust of desert wind. The village may be outside, but family intrusions are part of the wedding night's rituals, and you're about to face their oversight up close. She carries a clay tray of offerings, and her eyes dart between you and your groom, as if checking for flaws. The scent of myrrh mixes with her sharp perfume, and you brace yourself for another layer of scrutiny. In ancient Egypt, the wedding night isn't a private affair. Family members, especially mothers-in-law, play active roles to ensure the rituals are followed. A mainstream historical fact. Elders often supervise parts of the night to confirm the union aligns with divine and social expectations, particularly regarding fertility and propriety. You'd hoped for a moment alone with your groom, but the doors open and your mother-in-law's here to guide you. Your groom shifts uncomfortably and you share a glance, both wishing you could lock her out without sparking a scandal. She sets the tray on a low table, revealing small loaves of emmer bread, a vial of oil, and a bundle of dried herbs. Here's the quirky tidbit. The herbs are laced with ground lotus seeds, believed to stir the heart and ensure a fruitful night. She instructs you to burn them in the incense brazier, but the smell is overpowering, like a floral fire gone wrong. You lean forward to light them, and the smoke curls upward, making your eyes water. Your cousin, peeking through the doorway, fans her face dramatically, and you bite your lip to keep from laughing. This night is serious, but she's not helping. The burning herbs fill the room with a hazy glow, and your mother-in-law begins a low chant, invoking Isis to bless your union. You're supposed to bow your head, but the frog amulet tucked in your dress shifts, poking your chest. You wince, and she pauses, her eyebrow raised. Historians still argue whether these family intrusions were about control or genuine care for the couple's success. But to you, it feels like an inspection you didn't sign up for. You straighten, hoping she doesn't notice the frog's jab, and try to look reverent. Even as the smoke stings your throat, she hands you a piece of the emmer bread, instructing you to break it and share it with your groom as a symbol of unity. The bread's dense, and you struggle to tear it, your henna-stained fingers leaving red smudges. Your groom takes his half, and you both nibble awkwardly under her watchful gaze. The bread's chewy, and you're pretty sure you taste sand in it. Let's add a joke. If this bread's a love symbol, maybe you're uniting over a shared hatred of grit. You smirk, but her stare keeps you quiet, and you swallow the bite, hoping it's the last of her help. Next, she pours the oil into a shallow dish and dips her fingers in, motioning for you to do the same. You're to anoint each other's foreheads, a ritual to bind your spirits. The oil's slick, scented with frankincense, and you dab it on your groom's brow, your fingers trembling. He returns the gesture, his touch hesitant, and you feel a flicker of warmth despite the awkwardness. Your mother-in-law nods, but her lips stay tight, as if she's tallying your every move. Remember that crocodile dung paste? You'd almost prefer its stench to her hovering. She finally steps back, but not before placing a small clay statuette of Isis on the table, a reminder that the gods are watching. Her parting words are a warning to honor the rituals, and she leaves, the door creaking shut. You exhale, the tension easing slightly, but the statuette's eyes seem to follow you. Another joke. If Isis is judging, maybe she'll give you points for surviving your mother-in-law's bread. You chuckle, and your groom smiles. The first real moment of connection since the chamber rituals began. You sit back on the bed, the lotus smoke still curling in the air. The tray of offerings feels like a test you've barely passed, and you're hyper-aware of the family's influence, even with the door closed. Your groom picks up the Isis statuette, turning it over in his hands, and you both laugh nervously. The sound's soft in the hazy room. The night's rituals are piling up, and you're exhausted. But you adjust the wedged amulet on your wrist, its cord a small anchor, and prepare for what's next, hoping the family stays out for a while. You lean against the bed's frame, the bread's taste lingering in your mouth. The chamber feels smaller now, the walls closing in with every ritual, but your groom's quiet presence steadies you. The village's hum is faint outside, and you hold the linen knot amulet tighter, ready to face the night's next demand, even if your mother-in-law's shadow looms large. You lean back in the marriage chamber, the Isis statuette's gaze still lingering as the lotus-scented smoke swirls above. Your groom sets the figure down, and you both exhale, grateful for a moment without family looming. But the rituals aren't done. Now you face the strange customs surrounding the marital bed itself, a maze of symbolic acts meant to seal your union. The bed, low and draped with linen, looks innocent enough, but it's loaded with traditions that make your cheeks burn. The air smells of frankincense and warm clay, and you clutch the linen knot amulet, hoping it's as protective as promised. In ancient Egypt, the marital bed is more than furniture. It's a sacred space where divine and human worlds meet. A mainstream historical fact, the bed is prepared with specific rituals to ensure fertility and ward off malevolent spirits with every detail. From the linens to the frame carrying symbolic weight, you're expected to perform these customs flawlessly, or the village might whisper that your marriage is cursed. Your groom looks as nervous as you feel, his fingers fidgeting with his jed pillar amulet, and you share a wary glance, both bracing for what's next. A small wooden box sits beside the bed, left by the priestess earlier. You open it, revealing a bundle of dried palm leaves and a vial of oil that smells faintly of almonds. Here's the quirky tidbit: the leaves are inscribed with tiny hieroglyphs, spells to awaken the seed, and you're supposed to tuck them under the mattress. You unfold one, and the brittle leaf crumbles slightly, making you wince. Your cousin's voice pops into your head, joking that you're planting a palm tree in bed. You smirk, but the task feels oddly intimate, and you hesitate, glancing at your groom. He shrugs, and you both laugh, the sound easing the tension. You slip the leaves under the mattress, their faint rustle drowned out by the crackle of the incense brazier. The oil comes next. You're to sprinkle it on the bed's corners to consecrate the union. You uncork the vial, and the almond scent fills the room, a welcome change from that crocodile dung paste. But your hand shakes, and a drop spills on your dress, leaving a dark spot. Historians still argue whether these bed rituals were practical or purely symbolic. But to you, they're a nerve-wracking performance, and you're worried you're failing the choreography. Your groom takes the vial, his touch steadier, and sprinkles the remaining oil, his movements careful but awkward. You're both supposed to chant a short prayer to Hathor, but neither of you remembers the exact words. You mumble something about love and eternity, hoping it's close enough. The bed looks transformed, its linen glowing in the lamplight, but you feel exposed, like the gods appearing over your shoulder. Remember that ankh cloth from the chamber's first ritual. It's still there, a silent witness to your every move, and you wish you could hide beneath it. The final custom involves tying a red cord around the bed's legs, a symbol of binding your fates. The cord's in the box, tangled like a fisherman's net, and you both fumble to untie it. Your groom mutters under his breath, and you giggle, the first real moment of lightness in ours. Let's add a joke. If you can't untangle this cord, maybe you're destined to trip over love instead. You laugh, and he grins, the shared struggle making the ritual feel less daunting. You finally free the cord and loop it round the bed's legs, your fingers brushing his as you tie the knots. The bed's now a fortress of symbols, leaves, oil, cord, and that ever-present ankh-cloth. You sit beside it, the frog amulet poking your chest again, and wonder how you're supposed to relax in this sacred obstacle course. Your groom adjusts his scarab amulet, and you catch a flicker of exhaustion in his eyes. Another joke: if Hathor wanted romance, she'd have skipped the palm leaves and sent wine instead. You chuckle, but the weight of the night presses in, and you know the village is waiting for proof that these rituals worked. You adjust your veil, the gold threads catching the light, and take a deep breath. The chamber feels smaller, the air thick with expectation, but your groom's quiet presence anchors you. The bed looms like a challenge, its symbols a map you're still deciphering. You're exhausted, but the wedding night's core rituals are here. and you're determined to navigate them. Even if the cord's knots are tighter than your nerves, you lean against the bed's frame, the almond oil's scent soothing your frayed senses. The lamplight casts soft shadows, and you hear the villagers' distant music, a reminder of the world outside. You hold the linen, not amulet, its myrrh faint but grounding. Embrace yourself for the next step, knowing the gods, the village, and that pesky frog charm are all watching. You sit beside the consecrated bed, the red cord's knots glinting in the lamplight, your fingers still tingling from the almond oil. The marriage chamber hums with quiet tension, but the rituals press on, and now a priestess re-enters, her presence as commanding as the desert sun. She carries a bronze censer, its smoke curling with a sharp, resinous scent, and announces the next step, a series of priestly blessings to ensure your fertility and divine favor. Your groom straightens, and you adjust your heavy collar necklace, bracing for more chants that feel like a test you can't study for. The air grows denser, and you wish you could trade the frog amulet for a moment of peace. In ancient Egypt, priestly blessings on the wedding night are non-negotiable. A mainstream historical fact. Priests and priestesses invoke gods like Isis and Osiris to bless the couple, believing their chants channel divine energy to guarantee heirs and protect against curses. These blessings are public in spirit, even in a private chamber, as the community relies on your success. The priestess's eyes lock onto you, and you feel exposed, like a papyrus scroll under scrutiny. Your groom shifts closer, his jed pillar amulet clinking, and you draw strength from his presence. Even if you're both out of your depth, the priestess swings the censer, and the smoke stings your eyes, carrying the scent of galbanum resin. Here's the quirky tidbit. The resin is mixed with crushed scarab shells, thought to awaken life in your womb. You're not sure how beetle bits help, but you're too nervous to question it. The smoke swirls, and you blink rapidly, hoping you don't cough mid-blessing. Your cousin's teasing face flashes in your mind, joking that you're inhaling. A bug graveyard. You bite your lip to suppress a laugh, but the priestess's stern gaze keeps you focused, and you try to look like you're absorbing the divine vibes. She begins chanting, her voice low and rhythmic, invoking Isis to weave your womb with stars. You're supposed to kneel, but your amethyst-weighted dress makes it a slow, awkward descent, and you nearly topple. Your groom steadies you, his hand warm on your arm, and you flash him a grateful smile. Historians still argue whether these blessings were spiritual necessities or elaborate shows to reassure families. But to you, they're a marathon of faith, and your knees are already protesting. The priestess gestures for you to repeat her words, and you try, stumbling over eternal seed and earning a slight frown. You recover, your voice shaky but determined, and she continues. The chant shifts to Osiris, god of rebirth, and the priestess sprinkles barley grains over you both, a symbol of growth. A grain lands in your hair, and you resist the urge to shake it out, remembering the barley toss from the public procession. You're starting to feel like a walking granary. The priestess's voice rises, and you feel the weight of her words, each one a plea for your future children to thrive. Your groom repeats the chant, his voice steadier than yours, and you admire his calm, even if his scarab amulet's still dusty from its roll under the bed. Let's add a joke. If Isis doesn't bless you, maybe the barley's just prepping you for a bakery career. You smirk, but the priestess's censer swings closer, and you refocus, the smoke making your throat itch. She hands you a small clay disc, etched with a lotus, and instructs you to press it to your chest during the final chant. The disc is cool and you hold it tightly, the frog amulet poking you as if jealous. You wonder if the gods are keeping score, and if you're passing. The priestess's chant peaks, and you join in, your voice blending with your groom's, a fragile harmony in the smoky room. The blessing ends, and the priestess steps back, her censer still trailing smoke. She nods, a rare sign of approval, and you exhale, your knees aching as you rise. The barley grain falls from your hair, and your groom brushes it away, his touch gentle. Another joke, at least you're not sprouting barley yet. That'd be a new kind of wedding surprise. You chuckle, and he grins, the moment a small oasis in the ritual's intensity. The priestess leaves, her bronze censer glinting, and the chamber feels lighter. But the bed looms, its red cord a reminder of what's still to come. You sit back on the bed's edge, the lotus disc still in your hand. The smoke lingers, mixing with the almond oil's faint sweetness, and you feel a strange mix of exhaustion and resolve. The village's expectations are a distant hum, but the priestess's chants echo in your mind, urging you forward. You adjust the wedget eye amulet on your wrist, its cord a steady anchor, and prepare for the next ritual. Knowing the night's demands are far from over, you lean against your groom, the lamplight softening his features. The chamber's walls seem to pulse with the day's weight, but his quiet strength keeps you grounded. You hold the linen knot amulet, its myrrh scent faint, and brace yourself, ready to face the next step, even if your knees beg for mercy. You ease back onto the marriage bed, the lotus disc still warm in your hand, the priestess's smoky blessings lingering in the air. The chamber's quiet now, but the rituals roll on, and your groom's mother slips in again, carrying a woven tray of food for a symbolic wedding night meal. The scent of fresh bread and figs cuts through the frankincense, but her stern gaze reminds you this isn't a cozy dinner. You're expected to share this meal to seal your bond, and every bite is a performance for the gods and family. You adjust, your heavy dress, the amethyst beads clinking, and wish you could trade this tray for a nap. In ancient Egypt, food rituals on the wedding night are steeped in meaning. A mainstream historical fact, sharing a meal during the marriage rites symbolizes unity and abundance, with specific foods chosen to invoke fertility and divine favor. This isn't just eating, it's a sacred act, and the village will judge your marriage by how well you perform it. Your mother-in-law sets the tray between you and your groom, her hands steady but her eyes sharp, and you feel like you're being graded on your table manners. The tray holds small barley cakes, a bowl of mashed figs, and a clay cup of pomegranate juice. Here's the quirky tidbit. The figs are mixed with ground lotus seeds, the same ones from that overpowering incense, believed to stir life in your union. The texture's gritty, and you hesitate, wondering if everything tonight involves lotus seeds. Your cousin's teasing voice echoes in your mind, saying you'll be dreaming of lotus fields by dawn. You smirk, but your groom's nervous glance pulls you back, and you pick up a barley cake, hoping it's less sandy than the emmer bread from earlier. You're supposed to break the cake and feed it to each other, a gesture of mutual care. Your fingers fumble, and a crumb falls onto the ank cloth, earning a slight frown from your mother-in-law. You brush it off quickly, and your groom takes his half, his hands steadier. You feed him a piece, and he does the same, the cake dry but sweet. Historians still argue whether these food rituals were about spiritual bonding or practical displays of cooperation. But to you, it's a clumsy dance under scrutiny, and you're trying not to choke on the crumbs. Next comes the fig paste, which you're to eat with a small wooden spoon. The lotus seeds make it taste like a floral experiment gone wrong, and you force a smile as you swallow. Your groom grimaces slightly, and you share a look, both silently agreeing it's awful. Your mother-in-law instructs you to sip the pomegranate juice together, holding the cup with both hands to merge your fates. You lift it, the juice tart and staining your lips, and pass it to him. The cup's heavy, and you nearly spill it, but he steadies your hand, a small kindness that eases your nerves. Let's add a joke. If these lotus seeds don't work, maybe you'll just grow a garden in your sleep. You chuckle, but your mother-in-law's presence keeps it quiet. She gestures for you to offer a piece of the meal to the Isis statuette, a nod to the god's share. You place a fig beside it, the paste sticking to your fingers, and hope Isis isn't picky about presentation. The statuette's eyes seem to glint, and you wonder if she's judging your spoon skills. Remember that Emma bread from the family ritual. This fig paste is its sweeter, weirder cousin, and you're not sure which is worse. The meal ends with a final sip of juice, and your mother-in-law nods, her approval grudging but clear. She takes the tray and leaves, the door creaking shut, and you exhale, the chamber feeling lighter. Your groom wipes a crumb from his chin, and you both laugh, the sound soft but real. Another joke. At least the gods didn't ask you to eat that crocodile paste. That'd be a meal to forget. You grin, and he shakes his head, the shared ordeal knitting you closer. Even if the fig paste lingers on your tongue, you sit back, the barley cake sweetness fading, and glance at the bed. Its red cord and palm leaves a reminder of the night's wait. The village's hum is faint outside, but their expectations cling to you. And this meal was just another step in their script. You adjust the scarab amulet around your neck, its turquoise cool against your skin, and prepare for the next ritual. Your stomach full, but your heart still racing. You lean against the bed's frame, the lamplight casting shadows on your groom's face. The chamber feels like a world of its own, the food's flavors grounding you despite the strangeness. You hold the linen, not amulet, its myrrh sent a faint comfort, and brace yourself for what's next, knowing the wedding night's demands are far from over, even if your mother-in-law's gone for now. You settle back in the marriage chamber, the taste of gritty fig paste still lingering, the Isis statuette watching silently from its perch. The air shifts as a group of women from the village enters, their voices soft but insistent, carrying reed flutes and a small drum. They're here for the musical accompaniment, a ritual to serenade your union and appease the gods with haunting melodies. The room feels smaller with their presence, the lamplight flickering across their kohl-lined eyes, and you clutch the wedged eye amulet, bracing for another layer of this endless night. The scent of myrrh blends with their floral perfumes, and you wish you could slip out for a breath of Nile air in ancient Egypt. Music is a sacred bridge to the divine, especially on wedding nights. A mainstream historical fact. Songs and instruments like flutes and drums are played to honor Hathor and ensure her blessings, with melodies believed to ward off evil spirits and encourage fertility. These performances aren't optional. The village expects them, and any misstep could spark whispers of bad luck. Your groom sits closer, his scarab amulet glinting, and you share a look, both wary of the eerie tunes about to fill the room. The lead woman, an elder with a voice like weathered papyrus, begins a slow, lilting song about the moon guiding lovers. She hands you a small rattle, carved with lotus motifs, and instructs you to shake it in rhythm. Here's the quirky tidbit. The rattle's filled with dried pomegranate seeds, thought to echo life's pulse for the gods. It's lighter than you expected, but you fumble the rhythm, the seeds clattering out of sync. Your cousin, among the singers, hides a grin, and you shoot her a playful glare, wishing you could toss the rattle at her instead. The flutes join in, their notes high and winding, like the Nile's currents in song form. You shake the rattle again, trying to match the drum's steady beat, but your heavy dress makes it awkward, and the amethyst beads clink distractingly. Historians still argue whether these musical rituals were purely spiritual or a way to reinforce community ties, but to you, it's a public test of coordination, and you're not sure you're passing. The elder's song grows louder, her lyrics weaving tales of Hathor's love, and you focus, the rattle seeds finally finding the rhythm, even if your arm aches. The women circle the bed, their movements slow and deliberate, the drums thud, resonating in your chest. You're supposed to stand and sway, a symbolic dance to join the god's melody. You rise, your veil slipping slightly, and your groom steadies you, his hand warm on your elbow. The music's haunting, and you sway, feeling like a reed caught in a breeze. The frog amulet pokes your chest again, and you wonder if Hecate, the frog goddess, approves of your shaky dance. The women's eyes follow you, their expressions unreadable, and you pray you look graceful, not like a stumbling ibis. Let's add a joke. If you drop this rattle, just say it's a new dance for Bess's amusement. You smirk, but the elder's voice pulls you back, her song now invoking Osiris and rebirth. The flutes weave a mournful note, and you feel a chill, the music's power sinking into your bones. You shake the rattle harder, the pomegranate seeds a faint echo of life, and your groom sways beside you, his movements stiff but earnest. Remember that barley toss from the public procession. This rattles its musical cousin, and you're just as nervous about getting it right. The song shifts softer now, and the women pause, signaling you to sit. You do, the bed creaking under your weight, and hand the rattle back, your wrist sore. The elder nods, her approval subtle but clear, and the women file out, their flutes trailing a final note. The chamber feels empty without their music, but the melody lingers like a ghost in the air. Another joke, at least the gods didn't ask you to play the drum. You'd have woken the whole village. You chuckle, and your groom smiles, the shared ordeal a small bond in the night's chaos. You lean back, the lamplight casting shadows on the painted walls. The music's gone, but its weight remains, a reminder of the villagers' watchful eyes. You adjust the scarab amulet, its turquoise cool against your skin, and glance at the bed. Its red cord and palm leaves a silent challenge. The rituals are piling up, and you're exhausted, but you're determined to see them through. Even if the pomegranate seeds haunt your dreams, you rest against the bed's frame, your groom's quiet presence a steady anchor. The chamber's air is thick with myrrh and memory, and you hold the linen knot's amulet, its faint scent grounding you. The village's hum is a distant pulse, but the night's demands press closer, and you brace yourself for the next ritual, hoping the gods liked your rattle skills. You sit in the marriage chamber, the echo of flutes still humming in your ears, the linen knot amulet warm in your hand. The lamplight flickers, casting shadows on the lotus-painted walls. But the night's rituals shift focus now to the social hierarchy that defines your village. You're expected to perform a ceremonial acknowledgement of your new status. a subtle but crucial act to affirm your place among your groom's family and the community. Your mother-in-law returns, her presence as sharp as a flint blade, carrying a small bronze bowl of salt. The air smells of myrrh and tension, and you brace yourself, knowing this ritual stings more than the lotus seed paste in ancient Egypt. Marriage reshapes social standing, especially for women. A mainstream historical fact, a bride's integration into her husband's family involves public gestures to show respect for their rank, reinforcing the village's hierarchy. This ritual isn't just about you and your groom. It's about proving you understand your place in a web of status and obligation. Your mother-in-law's eyes bore into you, and you feel the weight of her family's prominence, their wealth in goats and grain setting them above your own. Your groom shifts beside you, his jed pillar amulet glinting, and you sense his own unease in this power play. Your mother-in-law hands you the bowl of salt, coarse and flecked with dried herbs. Here's the quirky tidbit. The salt is mixed with crushed acacia seeds, believed to purify your loyalty to your new family. You're to sprinkle it at her feet, a gesture of submission to her authority. The idea rankles, and you hesitate, the bowl heavy in your hands. Your cousin's teasing. Voice flashes in your mind, joking that you're seasoning the floor for a feast. You smirk, but the weight of the moment pulls you back, and you kneel, the amethyst beads of your dress clinking against the floor. You sprinkle the salt, its grains scattering like tiny stars, and murmur a phrase of respect taught by your mother. Earlier, I honor the house that shelters me. The words feel like swallowing sand, and your mother-in-law's nod is curt, as if she expected more groveling. Historians still argue whether these hierarchical rituals were about genuine respect or a way to enforce control over new brides, but to you it's a bitter pill, and you're trying not to choke on it. Your groom watches silently, his expression unreadable, and you wonder if he feels the same sting of being judged. Next, you're to offer her a small linen cloth, embroidered with an ankh, as a token of your commitment to her family's legacy. The cloth's in a basket by the bed, and you reach for it, your fingers brushing the frog amulet tucked in your dress. You fumble slightly, and the cloth slips, landing near the salt. You scoop it up, your cheeks burning, and hand it to her, hoping she doesn't see the dust on its edge. Her fingers close around it, and you feel a flicker of relief, though her silence speaks louder than approval. Remember that Emma bred from the family ritual. This cloth is its symbolic twin, and you're just as nervous about getting it right. She gestures for you to stand, and you do, your knees aching from the hard floor. The ritual ends with her placing a single date fruit in your palm, a symbol of her acceptance into the family. The date's sticky, and you're not sure if you're supposed to eat it or keep it, so you hold it awkwardly. Let's add a joke. If this date's a welcome gift, maybe you'll get a camel next time. You smirk, but her stare wipes it away, and you tuck the date into your sash, hoping it's the right move. Your mother-in-law leaves, the bronze bowl tucked under her arm, and the chamber feels lighter, though her authority lingers like the salt's sharp scent. Your groom exhales, and you share a look, both relieved to be free of her for now. Another joke. At least she didn't ask you to sprinkle salt on the bed. That'd be a new kind of gritty romance. You chuckle, and he grins, the shared strain easing the moment's edge. The hierarchy's clear, but you're in this together. Even if the village's ranks feel like a net around you, you sit back on the bed, the date fruit still sticky in your sash. The lamplight softens the room's edges, but the rituals sting. remains a reminder of your new place in this family's world. You adjust the scarab amulet, its turquoise a cool comfort, and glance at the ant cloth on the bed, its presence a silent witness. The night's demands keep coming, and you're weary, but you're determined to navigate them, even if the salt leaves a bitter taste. You lean against the bed's frame, your groom's quiet warmth a small anchor. The chamber's air is thick with myrrh and memory, and you hold the linen knot amulet, its faint scent steadying you. The village's hum is a distant murmur, but the weight of status presses close, and you brace yourself for the next ritual, hoping you've earned a moment's grace. You rest against the bed's frame, the sticky date fruit tucked in your sash, the sharp scent of salt and acacia still lingering. The chamber's lamplight softens, but the night's rituals don't pause. And now you face the morning after scrutiny, a public reckoning of your wedding night's success. The village is asleep, but you're already dreading the dawn, when neighbors and elders will gather to judge your performance based on signs, symbols, and gossip. Your groom adjusts his scarab amulet, his face tense, and you grip the linen knot. Its myrrh scent faint, but grounding. The air smells of cooling wax, and you brace for the thought of facing the crowd again in ancient Egypt. The morning after a wedding is a communal affair, not a private recovery. A mainstream historical fact. The bride and groom are inspected through rituals and subtle cues, like the state of the marriage bed or the bride's demeanor, to confirm the union's divine approval. The village believes your success ensures their prosperity, and any hint of failure could spark whispers of curses. You're exhausted, but the thought of those prying eyes makes sleep impossible, and you wish you could hide under the anchor cloth instead of facing them. Your mother slips into the chamber, her face a mix of pride and worry, carrying a small clay jar of rose water. Here's the quirky tidbit. The rose water is infused with crushed amethyst dust, believed to reveal your purity when dabbed on your wrists. She hands you the jar, instructing you to apply it before dawn to prepare for the elder's inspection. The scent's floral but gritty, and you dab it on, wincing as the dust stings your skin. Your cousin's teasing voice pops into your head, joking that you're turning into a sparkly statue. You smirk, but the jar's weight feels like another test, and you're running out of energy. Your mother explains the morning ritual. You'll walk to the village square, where women will examine the bed's linens for signs of consummation, a practice both sacred and mortifying. You blush, and your groom looks equally horrified, his fingers tightening on his jed pillar. Historians still argue whether this scrutiny was about fertility or social control, but to you, it's a gauntlet of judgment, and you're not sure how you'll face it. You apply more rose water, the amethyst dust catching the lamplight, and try to focus on your mother's advice. Look calm, even if you're shaking. The linens, especially that ant cloth, will be displayed like a banner, and you're told to smile as if it's an honor. You glance at the bed, its red cord and palm leaves, now seeming less romantic and more like evidence in a trial. Your mother adds that the elders will ask you questions, veiled but pointed, about the night's rituals. You're to answer vaguely, with phrases like "the gods were pleased." You practice the words, but they feel hollow, and your groom mutters that he'd rather face a crocodile than the village gossips. You nod, sharing his dread. Let's add a joke. If the elders don't like your linens, maybe you can blame the frog amulet for hopping off duty. You chuckle, but the humor fades as your mother describes the crowd's role. Neighbors will bring offerings, bread, beer, dates to celebrate your success, but their gifts come with scrutiny, and you'll feel their eyes searching for weakness. Remember that barley toss from the public procession. This is its nosier sequel, and you're the main exhibit. You dab more rosewater, hoping it hides your nerves, but the jar's nearly empty, and you're not sure it's enough. Your mother leaves, promising to return at dawn, and the chamber feels quieter but heavier. You and your groom sit in silence, the reality of tomorrow sinking in. Another joke. At least the village isn't checking for lotus seed crumbs. You'd never pass that test. You grin, and he laughs softly, the sound a small comfort. The bed looms, its linens a future headline, and you wonder how you'll face the square without crumbling under the stairs. You lean back, the rosewaters, scent mingling with the myrrh, and adjust the wedget eye amulet, its cord a steady anchor. The lamplight casts long shadows, and you feel the village's expectations even in their absence. The night's rituals have drained you, but the morning's scrutiny feels like a new battle, and you're not sure you're armed for it. You hold the linen knot tighter, its myrrh a faint lifeline, and try to rest, knowing the dawn will bring no mercy. You shift closer to your groom, his warmth a quiet strength. The chamber's walls seem to pulse with the night's weight, but his presence keeps you steady. The distant hum of the village fades, and you brace yourself for the morning, hoping the rosewater and your forced smile will be enough to face the crowd's judgment. You sit in the dim marriage chamber, the rosewater's gritty scent still clinging to your wrists, the looming morning scrutiny weighing on your mind. The lamplight wanes, casting faint shadows, but the rituals persist, and now you're tasked with reflecting on the magical protections you've worn all night. The amulet's wedged eye, scarab, frog, and linen knot feel heavier as you question their power after hours of chants and offerings. Your groom dozes lightly beside you, his jed pillar amulet askew, and you envy his brief escape. The air smells of fading myrrh, and you adjust your veil, wondering if the gods are as tired of this night as you are. In ancient Egypt, amulets are more than ornaments. They're conduits of divine will, a mainstream historical fact. Brides and grooms rely on these charms to shield their union from malevolent spirits, with their efficacy tied to proper rituals and faith. But after a night of endless ceremonies, you're starting to doubt if your frog charm or turquoise scarab can really fend off curses. You touch the wedged eye on your wrist, its cord frayed from your nervous fidgeting, and feel a pang of skepticism, like a crack in the village's sacred script. You lift the frog amulet from your dress, its clay surface smooth but unimpressive. Here's the quirky tidbit. It's inscribed with a tiny spell, barely visible, promising Heke's aid in childbirth. But the potter's shaky hand makes it look like a child's scribble. You squint at it, wondering if Hecate would honor such sloppy work. Your cousin's teasing voice echoes, joking that your frog's more likely to croak than cast spells. You smirk, but the doubt grows, and you tuck the amulet back, hoping no one notices your wavering faith. The scarab around your neck feels equally suspect. You turn it over, its turquoise dulled by dust, and recall the priestess's claim that it ensures rebirth. But after spilling oil, fumbling chants, and nearly dropping that ankh cloth, you're not sure rebirth is in the cards. Historians still argue whether amulets held genuine power or were psychological comforts for anxious couples. But to you, they're starting to feel like props in a play you're tired of performing. You glance at your groom, his scarab still dusty from its roll under the bed, and wonder if he's questioning them too. You untie the linen knot amulet, its myrrh scent faint now, and hold it in your palm. The priestess said it seals your bond, but it's just a frayed scrap. and you're not sure it's doing anything beyond tangling your fingers. You retie it, your movements slow, and think back to the Hathor shrine where you offered lotus and honey with such hope that feels distant now, like a dream fading at dawn. The amulets promised protection, but the night's chaos lotus, seeds, crocodile paste, salt sprinkles, makes you wonder if the gods are laughing instead. Let's add a joke. If these amulets fail, maybe you can trade them for a nap with Bass. He looks cozy. You chuckle, the sound soft in the quiet chamber, and your groom stirs, mumbling something about barley. You smile, grateful for his unintended humor, but the doubt lingers. The village believes these charms are your shield, and tomorrow's scrutiny will hinge on their supposed success. You touch the frog again, willing it to work, but it's just clay, and you're just a bride, caught in a web of faith and fear. The bed's red cord catches your eye, a reminder of the rituals still tying you to this night. You think of the palm leaves tucked beneath, their hieroglyphs promising life, and wonder if they're as unreliable as the frog. Another joke, at least if the scarab flops, you can use it as a paperweight for your marriage contract. You grin. But the chamber's weight presses in, and you feel the villagers' expectations, even in the dark. The amulets are your armor, but they're starting to feel like chains, and you're not sure how much longer you can carry them. You lean back, the bed creaking under your heavy dress. The lamplight's nearly gone, and the chamber feels like a cocoon, both safe and stifling. You adjust the wedged eye, its cord a faint comfort, and glance at your groom, his quiet breathing a small anchor. The night's rituals have left you drained, and the morning's judgment looms, but you're determined to face it. Even if you're starting to question the magic you've pinned your hopes on, you rest against the bed's frame, the myrrh's fading scent mingling with the rosewater on your wrists. The chamber's shadows deepen, and you hold the linen knot, its frayed edges a mirror of your fraying nerves. The village sleeps, but their faith in these amulets will greet you at dawn, and you brace yourself, hoping you can fake the confidence you no longer feel. You slump against the bed's frame, the linen knot amulet slipping from your fingers, its myrrh scent barely a whisper now. The chamber's lamplight is a faint glow, but the night's rituals grind on, and you're faced with the looming reality of your new marital duties. Beyond the wedding night ceremonies, you're stepping into a life of expectations as a wife, from managing a household to upholding your groom's family honor. Your groom stirs, his scarab amulet glinting as he shifts, and you feel a knot of anxiety, knowing the village will watch your every move from now on. The air smells of cooling wax and doubt, and you adjust your heavy dress, bracing for the weight of what's to come. In ancient Egypt, a bride's role extends far beyond the altar, a mainstream historical fact. Wives are expected to oversee domestic tasks, from weaving linen to preparing offerings for household gods, while embodying Mat, the principle of balance, in their actions. Failure to meet these standards could shame your new family, and the village's gossip would be merciless. You glance at the ankcloth on the bed, its presence a reminder of the union you're now bound to, and wonder how you'll navigate this new world of responsibility. When you're still reeling from lotus seeds and frog charms, your mother's earlier words echo, her warning about honoring the house now taking on a broader meaning. She left a small reed basket by the door, filled with tools of your new role, a spindle for spinning flax, a clay seal for marking grain jars, and a tiny base figurine for the household shrine. Here's the quirky tidbit. The spindle is carved with a spell to weave harmony, but it's so worn it looks like it's been through a sandstorm. You pick it up, its wood rough under your henna-stained fingers, and your cousin's teasing voice pops into your head, joking that you'll spin a sandstorm instead. You smirk, but the spindle's weight feels like a promise you're not sure you can keep. You're expected to master these tasks quickly, starting tomorrow when you'll join the women of your groom's family to bake bread and tend the hearth. The thought of their critical eyes makes your stomach churn, especially after the salt-sprinkling rituals sting. Historians still argue whether these wifely duties were empowering or oppressive, but to you, they're a towering stack of expectations. And you're not sure you're tall enough to reach the top. You set the spindle down, its spell seeming as shaky as your confidence, and glance at your groom, hoping he'll share the load. But his sleepy expression offers little clue. The clay seal catches your eye, its surface etched with your groom's family symbol, a falcon. You're to use it to mark your work, from grain stores to linen bundles, tying your labor to their name. You roll it in your palm, its edges sharp, and imagine pressing it into soft clay, each mark a claim on your new identity. The base figurine, squat and grinning, is meant to protect your future home. But you're not sure it can fend off your mother-in-law's scrutiny. Remember that Tauret figurine from the fertility ritual. This base is its cheekier cousin, but you're too tired to feel protected. Let's add a joke. If you break that spindle, maybe you can blame it on base for dancing too hard. You chuckle, the sound soft in the dim chamber, and your groom mumbles something, half asleep. You smile, but the reality of your duties presses in. The village will expect you to weave, cook, and pray with the skill of a seasoned wife, and any stumble will fuel their whispers. You pick up the base figurine, its grin almost mocking, and set it back, hoping it's better at guarding than it looks. You lean back, the bed creaking under your amethyst-weighted dress. The chamber feels like a threshold, the night's rituals fading into the lifelong ones ahead. You think of the rose water from the morning scrutiny, its amethyst dust a fleeting shield, and wonder if it'll help you face the hearth's heat or the women's stares. Another joke. At least, if you burn the bread, you can offer it to the gods as a smoky sacrifice. You grin, but the spindle's weight lingers in your mind, a symbol of the life you're stepping into, ready or not. You adjust the scarab amulet, its turquoise cool against your skin, and glance at the bed, its red cord a reminder of the night's trials. The village sleeps, but their expectations wait for dawn, and you're bracing for a role that feels bigger than you. You hold the linen knot, its frayed edges a mirror of your nerves, and try to rest, knowing the morning will bring new demands. From flax to falcons, you shift closer to your groom, his warmth a quiet anchor. The chamber's shadows deepen, the wax's scent fading, and you brace yourself for the life ahead, hoping you'll find your footing, even if the spindle spins faster than you can keep up. You slump against the bed, the base figurine's grin still glinting in the fading lamplight. The spindle's weight heavy in your thoughts. The chamber's air is thick with cooling wax and the faint tank of rose water, but the night's rituals give way to a new pressure, the gossip circles tightening around your wedding night's performance. The village sleeps, yet you can almost hear their whispers, dissecting every detail from your barley toss to the ankh-cloth state. Your groom snores softly, his scarab amulet askew, and you envy his escape, clutching the linen knot as you brace for the rumors that will greet the dawn. The night feels endless, and you're already dreading the village's verdict in ancient Egypt. Gossip is a social currency, especially after a wedding. A mainstream historical fact. The community closely monitors a bride's conduct during marriage rites, with rumors about her performance shaping her reputation and her family's honor. A flawless ritual means divine favor. A fumble could brand you as cursed. You think of the rosewater ritual, its amethyst dust meant to prove your purity, and wonder if it'll shield you from the whispers already forming. Your mother warned you about the villagers' sharp tongues, and now you're hyper-aware of every misstep, from the shaky chants to the spilled oil. You imagine the women at the well tomorrow, their voices low as they trade stories. Here's the quirky tidbit. They'll look for omens in odd places, like the number of barley grains you scattered, or whether a bird flew over the square during your procession. If a sparrow swooped low, they might say Hathor disapproved. You recall a bird darting past during your public walk, and your stomach twists. Your cousin's teasing voice pops into your head, joking that you're doomed because a goose honked at the wrong moment. You smirk, but the thought of those women counting your grains like oracles makes your skin prickle. You shift on the bed, the frog amulet poking your chest, and replay the night's rituals, searching for flaws. Did you sway enough during the musical rite? Was the ankh cloth wrinkled? The villagers' gossip will amplify every detail, and you're not sure you've done enough to satisfy them. Historians still argue whether this communal scrutiny strengthened social bonds or crushed individual spirits. But to you, it's a net closing in, and you're caught in its threads. You touch the wedged eye amulet, its cord frayed, and hope. It can ward off rumors as well as spirits. You picture your mother-in-law at the center of the gossip, her curt nod during the salt ritual now seeming like a prelude to criticism. She'll likely tell the women you hesitated with the linen cloth, and they'll spin it into a tale of divine displeasure. You sigh, wishing you could sprinkle that acacia-laced salt over their tongues to quiet them. Your groom stirs, mumbling something about bread, and you smile despite yourself, grateful for his obliviousness. Remember that gritty fig paste from the meal ritual. You'd rather eat a bowl of it than face the villagers' whispers, but there's no escaping their judgment. Let's add a joke. If the gossips count, you're barley wrong. Maybe you can bribe them with lotus seed cakes. You chuckle, the sound soft in the dim chamber, but the anxiety lingers. You lean back, the bed creaking under your heavy dress, and imagine confronting the women, your voice steady as you declare the god's approval. But the fantasy fades, and you're left with the reality of their stares, their words sharper than the spindle in that basket. You adjust the scarab amulet, its turquoise, a faint comfort, and try to push the rumors from your mind, but they cling like dust. The chamber's shadows deepen, and you think of the Hathor shrine, where you offered lotus with such hope that faith feels distant now, eroded by the night's trials and the village's looming verdict. Another joke, at least if the gossips get it wrong, you can blame the frog amulet for croaking out of tune. You grin, but the bed's red cord catches. Your eye a reminder of the rituals they'll dissect. The villagers' whispers are a storm you can't outrun, and you're bracing for their sting. Even as you long for the quiet of sleep, you rest against the bed's frame, the lamplight nearly gone, and hold the linen knot, its frayed edges mirroring your fraying nerves. Your groom's soft snores are a small anchor, and you shift closer, his warmth easing the weight of tomorrow's rumors. The night's rituals have left you raw, and the gossip circles feel like a new trial, but you're determined to face them. Even if your heart races at the thought of their words, you glance at the ankh-cloth, its folds a silent witness to the night. The chamber's air is heavy with memory, and you brace yourself for the dawn, hoping you can stand tall under the villagers. scrutiny, even if their whispers cut deeper than you're ready for. You lean against the bed, the ank cloth's folds catching the last flickers of lamplight. The village's looming gossip still buzzing in your mind like an insistent fly. The chamber's air is heavy with fading myrrh, but the rituals push forward, and now you're tasked with making offerings at a temple shrine to secure divine approval for your marriage. Your groom stirs, his scarab amulet glinting as he rubs his eyes, and you both rise, summoned by your mother's soft knock. She hands you a woven basket of offerings, her face etched with urgency, and you adjust your veil, dreading the trek. The night feels like a marathon, and you're running on fumes in ancient Egypt. Temple offerings are a critical post-wedding rite, a mainstream historical fact. Newlyweds visit local shrines, often to Hathor or Isis, to present gifts that affirm their union's sanctity and beg for blessings like fertility and harmony. The village sees this as proof of your devotion, and skipping it would fuel the gossip circles you're already dreading. You clutch the basket, its weight a reminder of the scrutiny waiting outside, and step into the cool night, the Nile's distant murmur a faint comfort against the task ahead. The basket holds a small loaf of spelt bread, a vial of honey, and a bundle of blue lotus flowers. Here's the quirky tidbit. The honey is laced with crushed natron, a salty mineral meant to purify your offering, but it smells like a pickling jar gone wrong. You wrinkle your nose as you lift the vial, and your groom, trailing behind, mutters that it's worse than the crocodile paste. Your cousin's teasing voice echoes in your head, joking that you're about to bribe Hathor with salty syrup. You smirk, but the temple's looming silhouette keeps you focused, its stone walls stark against the starry sky. You reach the shrine, a modest structure with Hathor's cow-horned statue glowing under torchlight. A priestess waits, her sistrum, silent but her gaze sharp, and you kneel, the amethyst beads of your dress clinking on the stone floor. You're to place the offerings at the statue's base and recite a prayer for divine favor. The words are familiar, but your voice wavers, and the natron honey scent distracts you. Historians still argue whether these offerings were heartfelt or performative displays for social approval, but to you, it's another hoop to jump through, and your knees ache from the night's endless kneeling. You set the bread and lotus flowers down, their petals wilting slightly, and pour the honey into a shallow dish, the natron crunching under your fingers. The priestess chants, her voice low and commanding, and you echo her, praying for a fruitful union. A breeze stirs the torches, and you shiver, the frog amulet poking your chest, as if Hecate's reminding you she's watching too. Your groom adds his own offering, a small clay ankh, and you share a glance, both hoping this is enough to satisfy the gods and silence the villagers' whispers. Let's add a joke. If Hathor rejects this honey, maybe you can use it to pickle the gossip's tongues. You chuckle, but the priestess's stare snaps you back, and you focus on the prayer, your voice steadier now. The lotus flowers catch the torchlight, their blue petals a fragile beauty, and you feel a flicker of hope. Despite the night's wait, remember that shrine visit before the wedding night. This is its blearier, more desperate sequel, and you're praying it carries more weight with the gods. The priestess nods, signaling the ritual's end, and you rise, your legs wobbly but holding. She sprinkles you with water, cool and clean, a final blessing that soothes your gritty skin. You step back, the basket lighter now, and your groom takes your hand, his touch a quiet anchor. Another joke, at least this water's not that ostrich eggshell scrub. Your skin might actually thank you. You grin, and he squeezes your hand, the shared exhaustion knitting you closer. Even as the temple's stone walls loom like silent judges, you leave the shrine, the dawn's first light smudging the horizon, and feel the village stirring, there, eyes soon to follow. The offerings are done, but the morning scrutiny waits, and you're not sure if Hathor's approval will shield you from their stares. You adjust the scarab amulet, its turquoise a faint comfort, and walk back, the basket swinging at your side. The night's rituals have left you raw, but you're determined to face the dawn. Even if the natron honey's scent clings like a bad memory, you pause by a tamarisk tree. The Nile's ripple a soft backdrop and lean against your groom, his warmth steadying you. The chamber's trials feel distant, but the village's judgment is near, and you hold the linen knot, its frayed edges a mirror of your nerves. You brace yourself for the next step, hoping the gods took your offerings seriously, even if the honey tasted like regret. You trudge back from the temple, the dawn's light casting long shadows, the empty basket dangling from your arm. The chamber's myrrh and the natron honey's sting linger in your memory. But now you face the reality of your new household. Role shifts. As a wife, you're expected to integrate into your groom's family, taking on their daily routines and proving your worth through labor and loyalty. Your groom walks beside you, his scarab amulet glinting, and you feel the weight of becoming part of his world, where every task is a test. The air smells of dew and dust, and you adjust your veil, bracing for the life waiting beyond the wedding night. In ancient Egypt, marriage reshapes a woman's daily life, anchoring her to her husband's household. A mainstream historical fact. Wives join their groom's family, often living under the same roof, and must adapt to their customs, from cooking recipes to shrine rituals, to earn respect. Failure to blend in could strain family ties and fuel the gossip you're already dreading. You think of the spindle from the marital duties ritual, its worn wood, a symbol of the work ahead, and wonder if you'll ever feel at home in this new life. Your mother-in-law greets you at the house, her eyes scanning you like a merchant appraising grain. She hands you a clay jug of water and a linen cloth, directing you to start the day by cleaning the household shrine. Here's the quirky tidbit. The cloth is woven with a single blue thread, believed to carry Isis's gaze to bless your work, but it's frayed, and you're worried it'll tear mid-swipe. Your cousin's teasing voice echoes, joking that you'll dust the gods into a sneezing fit. You smirk, but the jug's weight pulls you back, and you follow her to the shrine. A small alcove with a base figurine and a wilted lotus. You kneel, the amethyst beads of your dress clinking, and wipe the shrine, the blue thread snagging on the figurine's grin. The task feels mundane after the night's grandeur, but your mother-in-law watches, her silence louder than any chant. Historians still argue whether these household roles empowered women through responsibility or confined them to domesticity. But to you, it's a quiet pressure, and you're trying not to smudge the shrine or your reputation. You pour a trickle of water over the lotus, a daily offering, and hope base appreciates the effort. Even if your hands shake from exhaustion, your mother-in-law nods, then points to a pile of flax in the courtyard, hinting you'll spin it later with the women. The spindle's spell for harmony feels like a cruel joke now, and you dread their critical eyes, especially after the salt-sprinkling ritual's sting. You set the jug down, the cloth damp in your grip, and glance at your groom, who's been tasked with checking the family's grain stores. He offers a tired smile, and you return it, both navigating this new world of shared duties. Remember that clay seal from the marital duties. You'll use it soon to mark your work, tying you to this household's name. Let's add a joke. If you break that cloth, maybe you can blame Base for grinning too hard. You chuckle, but your mother-in-law's voice cuts through, instructing you to fetch barley for breakfast. You nod, your legs heavy, and head to the storeroom, the jug still in hand. The barley's coarse, and you scoop it carefully, avoiding her stare. Another joke, at least if you spill it, you can say it's a tribute to the barley toss gods from the procession. You grin, but the flax pile looms in your mind, a reminder of the endless tasks waiting to define your new role. You return with the barley, setting it by the hearth, where the women will soon gather. The courtyard's quiet, the village just waking, but you feel their eyes already, ready to judge your every move. You adjust the scarab amulet, its turquoise, a small comfort, and think of the temple's lotus offering, its fragile beauty a fleeting hope. The night's rituals have faded, but these household duties are your new reality, and you're determined to face them. Even if the blue-threaded cloth feels like a flimsy shield, you pause by the shrine, the base figurines grin a faint encouragement. Your groom joins you, carrying a sack of grain, and you share a look, both weary but bound by this new life. The chamber's trials feel distant, but the household's demands are here. And you hold the linen knot, its frayed edges a mirror of your nerves, bracing for the day's work, hoping you'll find your place, even if the flax spins faster than you can keep up. You stand in the courtyard, the barley scoop still dusty in your hands. The best figurines grin fading into memory as the dawn's light creeps over the mud brick walls. The household duties loom, but now you face a new ritual. Fertility tests to prove the wedding night's success. The village women are gathering, their chatter a low hum, and your mother-in-law leads you to a shaded corner where a midwife waits, her eyes sharp and her hands clutching a linen pouch. The air smells of warm earth and faint lotus, and you grip the scarab amulet, its turquoise cool but offering little comfort against the coming scrutiny. In ancient Egypt, a bride's fertility is a community obsession, tested soon after the wedding night. A mainstream historical fact. Midwives perform rituals and examinations to predict or confirm conception, using symbolic acts and herbal concoctions to gauge divine favor. Failure to show promise could brand you as barren, fueling the gossip circles you're already dreading. Your groom lingers nearby, tasked with fetching water, his nervous glance mirroring your own. You adjust your heavy dress, the amethyst beads clinking, and brace for a ritual that feels more invasive than the rosewater dabbing at dawn. The midwife hands you a small clay cup filled with a murky liquid, its scent sharp and herbal. Here's the quirky tidbit. It's a mix of barley water and crushed date pits, believed to reveal life's spark if you drink it without gagging. You lift the cup, its contents sloshing, and your cousin's teasing voice echoes, joking that it's worse than the lotus seed figs. You smirk, but the midwife's stare is unrelenting, and you sip, the gritty mix coating your tongue like a bad omen. You force it down, hoping Hathor isn't judging your grimace. The midwife gestures for you to sit on a low stool, where she performs a symbolic test, placing a garlic clove near you to draw out fertility. You're to sit still, breathing in its pungent smell, while she chants to Hecate, the frog goddess. The garlic stench makes your eyes water, and you wonder if this is punishment for fumbling the rattle's rhythm. Historians still argue whether these fertility tests were based on early medical knowledge or pure superstition. But to you, it's a humiliating ordeal, and you're trying not to bolt from the stool. You sit, the garlic's bite stinging your nose, and the midwife sprinkles barley grains around you, murmuring about life cycles. The women watch their whispers, a soft buzz, and you catch a snippet. She drank it fast. That's a good sign. You wish you could tell them it's because you wanted it over with. Your mother-in-law nods, but her lips stay tight, as if she's tallying your every breath. Remember that ankh cloth from the marriage bed. Its absence here feels like a small mercy, but the garlics know better, and you're praying for a breeze to clear the air. Let's add a joke. If this garlic test fails, maybe you can use it too. Ward off nosy neighbors. You chuckle, but the midwife's chant pulls you back, her voice invoking Heke's favor. She hands you a small linen strip to tie around your wrist, dyed blue to bind life. It's loose, and you fumble the knot, earning a slight frown. Your groom, returning with a water jug, catches your eye and mimics a garlic sniff, making you grin despite the tension. His quiet humor is a lifeline, and you tie the strip tighter, hoping it's enough to pass this test. The midwife finishes, collecting the barley and garlic into her pouch, and declares you promising her tone. Neutral but not unkind. The women murmur approval, but you feel their eyes linger, searching for weakness. Another joke, at least if you smell like garlic, the gossips might keep their distance for once. You smirk, but the ritual's weight lingers, and you stand, your legs shaky from the stool's hard edge. Your mother-in-law gestures toward the house, signaling more duties, and you know the villagers' scrutiny is far from over. You walk back, the blue linen strip flapping on your wrist, the date pit drink still sour in your throat. The courtyard hums with waking life, and you feel the women's stares, their whispers weaving new tales about your fertility. You adjust the frog amulet, its clay a faint anchor, and glance at your groom, his water jug a mirror of your own burdens. The night's rituals fade, but these tests are a new trial, and you're determined to face them. Even if the garlic lingers like a bad dream, you pause by the hearth, the village's dawn glow softening the horizon. Your groom sets the jug down, his hand brushing yours, and you draw strength from his quiet presence. The air carries the Nile's faint ripple, and you hold the linen knot amulet, its frayed edges steadying you, bracing for the day's demands, hoping you've proven enough to quiet the whispers, at least for now. You step away from the hearth, the blue linen strip on your wrist catching the dawn's glow, the garlic sting still sharp in your nose. The village hums with early morning life, but the endless wedding rituals have left you drained, and now you're grappling with ritual fatigue, a bone-deep exhaustion that makes each step feel like wading through Nile mud. Your groom trails behind, his water jug clinking, his face etched with the same weariness. You clutch the scarab amulet, its turquoise dulled by dust, and long for a moment to collapse, but the day's demands keep piling up like flax in the courtyard. In ancient Egypt, wedding ceremonies stretch across days, testing a couple's endurance. A mainstream historical fact, these multi-day rituals, from purifications to temple offerings, are designed to secure divine favor and community approval, but they often leave brides and grooms physically and emotionally spent. You're not alone in this haze. Every bride has felt the weight of sleepless nights and relentless scrutiny. You think of the rosewater from the morning scrutiny, its amethyst dust a fleeting shield, and wish it could wash away the fog clouding your mind. Your mother-in-law calls you to the courtyard, where women are kneading dough for the day's bread. She hands you a clay bowl of barley flour and expects you to join them. A test of your new household role, despite your drooping eyes. Here's the quirky tidbit. The flowers mixed with a pinch of ground lotus petals, believed to infuse strength into your work, but it smells like the incense from the musical ritual and makes you sneeze. Your cousin, fetching water nearby, mimics your sneeze with a grin, and you roll your eyes, wishing you could fling the flower at her instead. You kneel by the hearth, the bowl heavy in your lap, and start mixing the dough, your hands sluggish. The women's chatter swirls around you, their voices a mix of advice and judgment, and you struggle to keep up. Historians still argue whether these prolonged rituals built resilience or simply exhausted couples into compliance. But to you, it's a blur of flour and fatigue, and you're barely holding on. Your fingers stick to the dough, and you smear some on your dress, earning a sharp glance from your mother-in-law. You wipe it off, your cheeks burning, and keep kneading, praying. For a break, the lotus petals in the flour catch the sunlight, their faint shimmer mocking your heavy lids. You're supposed to shape the dough into flat loaves, but your hands tremble, and your first attempt looks like a lumpy rock. A younger woman beside you stifles a laugh, and you force a smile, pretending it's intentional. Your groom, setting down his jug, catches your eye and mimes a perfect loaf shape, his teasing a quiet lifeline. Let's add a joke. If this dough's a failure, maybe you can offer it to base as a new kind of boulder. You chuckle, but the women's stares keep you focused, and you reshape the loaf. Your arms aching, the kneading drags on, each motion a battle. Against your exhaustion, you think of the temple offerings, the garlic test, the endless chants from the night, each one piling onto this moment. The blue strip around your wrist feels like a tether, binding you to these duties despite your fading strength. Your mother-in-law inspects your loaves, her nod grudging, and you exhale. But she adds another task, grinding more barley for tomorrow. You want to protest, but her gaze silences you, and you nod, the weight of the rituals crushing your spirit. Let's add another joke. At least if you collapse, you can blame the lotus petals for lulling you to sleep. You smirk, but the courtyard's heat presses in, and the dough stickiness clings to your hands like the village's expectations. You glance at the flax pile, a reminder of the spinning that waits, and feel a wave of despair. Remember that. Spindle from the marital duties. Its spell for harmony seems laughable now, and you're not sure you can spin anything but exhaustion into your new life. You finish the loaves, setting them by the oven, and wipe sweat from your brow, the lotus flower leaving a faint shimmer on your skin. The women move on, their chatter fading, but your mother-in-law lingers, her presence a reminder that rest is a luxury you haven't earned. You adjust the frog amulet, its clay a faint anchor, and lean toward your groom, his quiet presence a small comfort. The rituals have left you hollowed out, but you're determined to keep going, even if your hands shake and your eyes blur with unshed tears. You sit by the hearth's edge, the village's dawn now a warm glow. The air carries the scent of baking bread, and you hold the linen knot amulet, its frayed edges a mirror of your frayed resolve. The day's tasks stretch ahead, and you brace yourself, hoping you can endure the fatigue, even if the lotus petals offer no real strength. You slump by the hearth, the scent of baking bread mixing with the lotus flower's faint floral temps. Your hands still sticky from dough. The village is fully awake now, its hum growing louder as women carry water and men tend livestock, their eyes lingering on you, the new bride. The ritual's weight has left you hollow, but the community's gaze persists, a relentless surveillance that follows you like a shadow. Your groom is off, stacking grain sacks, His absence, a quiet ache, and you clutch the frog amulet. It's clay warm, but offering little shield against the stairs. The morning air is warm, and you adjust your veil, bracing for another day under there. Watchful eyes. In ancient Egypt, a bride's first days are a public performance, not a private transition. A mainstream historical fact. The community monitors newlyweds, especially the bride, to ensure they uphold their roles. With every action from baking to shrine offerings, judged for signs of divine favor or failure. One wrong move, like a misshapen loaf or a hesitant prayer, could reignite the gossip you're already dreading. You think of the garlic test's scrutiny, its pungent sting, and feel the villagers' eyes as a heavier burden, their whispers sharper than any ritual's demand. Your mother-in-law calls you to the courtyard's edge, where women are sorting lentils, their fingers swift and their chatter pointed. She hands you a reed basket and expects you to join them, your work a visible test of your worth. Here's the quirky tidbit. The lentils are sprinkled with dried mint leaves, believed to cleanse your labor for the gods, but they stick to your fingers like tiny pebbles. Your cousin, fetching more baskets, winks and jokes that you're sorting lentils for Hathor's soup. You smirk, but the women's glances pull you back, their eyes scanning your every move as if counting your lentils for omens. You sit, the basket heavy in your lap, and start sorting, your hands sluggish from fatigue. The mint scent is sharp, and a stray leaf sticks to your wrist, mingling with the rosewater's fading grit. The women's voices swirl, some offering tips, others murmuring about your wedding night's rituals. You catch a snippet. Her barley loaves were uneven. What does that mean? You flush, focusing on the lentils, but their stares burn. Historians still argue whether this community oversight was supportive or oppressive. But to you, it's a spotlight you can't escape, and you're struggling to shine. A younger woman nudges you, pointing out a misorted lentil, and you correct it, your cheeks hot. The basket feels endless, and your fingers ache, the blue linen strip from the fertility test flapping as you work. You think of the spindle waiting in the house, its promise of harmony a distant dream, and wonder how you'll survive this day, let alone a lifetime of scrutiny. Your mother-in-law passes by, her nod brief, and you feel her judgment as if your lentils are a map of your worth. Remember that salt-sprinkling ritual. Its sting feels mild compared to these eyes, and you're praying for a cloud to hide you. Let's add a joke. If you sort these lentils wrong, maybe you can blame the mint for clouding your vision. You chuckle, but the women's chatter drowns it, their voices weaving new rumors. You focus, separating the lentils with care, but a small pile spills, and a woman gasps, as if it's a sign of divine displeasure. You scoop them up, your heart racing, and force a smile, hoping to deflect their stares. Your groom's absence stings now, his grain-stacking task a world away, and you wish for his teasing to lighten this moment. Another woman offers you a sip of water, her kindness a rare softness, and you drink gratefully, the coolness easing your dry throat. You adjust the scarab amulet, its turquoise a faint anchor, and keep sorting, the lentils a monotonous rhythm. Another joke, at least if the gossips talk, you can toss lentils at them and call it a new ritual. You grin, but the courtyard's heat presses in, and the women's eyes follow, their scrutiny a weight heavier than your dress's beads. You're determined to prove yourself, even if your hands shake and the mint leaves cling like tiny accusations. You finish the basket, setting it aside, and wipe sweat from your brow, the mint scent lingering. The village's hum grows louder, and you feel their gaze, a relentless tide you can't outrun. You hold the linen, not amulet, its frayed edges a mirror of your nerves, and brace for the next task, hoping you can endure the community's watch, even if their eyes feel like a second sun. You lean against a low wall, the courtyard's bustle a backdrop, and glance at the Nile's distant glint. It's calm, a fleeting hope. Your groom's work keeps him away, but you draw strength from the memory of his touch, steadying you for the day's endless trials, lentils and all. You lean against the courtyard wall, the lentil basket empty, but your hands still dusted with mint, the villager's relentless gaze burning like the morning sun. The hum of chatter and livestock fills the air, but amidst the scrutiny, a flicker of your own hopes surfaces, a quiet dream of finding your place beyond the rituals and expectations. You're not just a bride or a wife-to-be. You're a woman with thoughts of a life that's more than flax and offerings. Your groom is still off with the grain sacks, and you clutch the frog amulet, its clay a small anchor, as you steal a moment to imagine a future not bound by the village's rules. The air smells of warm bread and river reeds, and you adjust your veil, letting your mind wander. In ancient Egypt, women's lives are shaped by tradition, but some carve out small spaces for personal dreams, a mainstream historical fact. While wives are expected to uphold household duties, many find ways to express individuality through crafts, storytelling, or quiet acts of defiance, though always within the bounds of social norms. You think of the spindle, its worn wood waiting inside, and wonder if you could weave something uniquely yours, not just for your mother-in-law's approval. The village's eyes are everywhere, but in this fleeting pause, you dare to hope for more. You spot a group of children playing near the Nile's edge, their laughter free and unburdened. Your mother-in-law's voice calls you to fetch water, but you linger, watching a girl braid reeds into a tiny boat. Here's the quirky tidbit: such boats, often made by women, are sometimes floated as offerings to Hopi, the river god, carrying secret wishes scratched into the reeds. You imagine crafting one, whispering a hope for a life where you're more than a bride under scrutiny. Your cousin's teasing voice pops into your head, joking that your boat would sink under the weight of your amulet. You smirk, but the idea sticks, and you tuck it away like a hidden charm. You grab the clay jug and head to the river, the village's stairs following like a current. The water's cool, and you pause, dipping your fingers, the blue linen strip from the fertility test glinting wetly on your wrist. You picture floating a reed boat, its message a quiet rebellion against the gossip and duties. Historians still argue whether women's small acts of creativity were true defiance or just coping mechanisms, but to you it's a spark of freedom, and you hold it close, even as the jug's weight pulls you back to reality. You fill the jug, its gurgle a soothing contrast to the village's hum, and glance at the children, their boats bobbing on the water. You want a life where you can laugh like that, maybe teach your own children to weave reeds or tell stories that aren't just prayers to Hathor. Your mother-in-law's call cuts through, sharp as ever, and you trudge back, the jug heavy on your shoulder. Remember that lotus offering at the temple. Its fragile beauty feels like your hope now, delicate but persistent, and you're determined to nurture it, even under the village's gaze. Let's add a joke. If your red boat sinks, maybe it's just carrying your mother-in-law's expectations to the riverbed. You chuckle, the sound lost in the courtyard's bustle, but the thought of that boat keeps you grounded. You set the jug down, the women's eyes still tracking you, and join them to knead more dough, your hands moving mechanically, the mint-dusted lentils, the barley loaves, the endless tasks. They're your role, but you dream of weaving something brighter. Maybe a story or a song that's yours alone. Another woman hands you a lump of dough, her smile kind but fleeting. And you need it, your fingers steadier now. The hope feels fragile, like the reed boat, but it's there, a quiet promise beneath the ritual's weight. Another joke, at least if you burn the bread, you can say it's a new offering for the dream gods. You grin, but the courtyard's heat presses in, and you focus, the dough soft under your hands. You adjust the scarab amulet, it's turquoise, a faint reminder of your strength, and keep working, your dreams a secret kept close. Even as the village watches, you step back, the dough shaped into neat loaves, and wipe sweat from your brow. The Nile's glint catches your eye, a reminder of that red boat and the hopes it could carry. The villagers' scrutiny is relentless, but your dreams are a quiet rebellion, and you're determined to hold on to them, even if they're as small as a child's woven toy. You pause by the hearth, your groom's distant figure stacking grain, his labor a mirror of yours. The air carries the river's faint coolness, and you hold the linen knot amulet, its frayed edges a mirror of your resolve. You brace for the day's tasks, hoping your dreams can find a place amidst the villagers. Endless demands, even if they're just a whisper for now. You stand by the hearth, the dough's warmth fading under your hands, the Nile's distant glint still sparking thoughts of that reed boat and your quiet dreams. The village bustles, its scrutiny a constant hum, but now you pause to reflect on the historical evolution of these wedding rituals, their roots stretching back through Egypt's sands. Your groom returns, his grain sacks stacked, and sits beside you, his scarab amulet dusty but glinting. You clutch the frog amulet, its clay a faint anchor, and let your mind wander to how these traditions grew, a rare moment to think beyond the day's demands. The air smells of baked bread and river mist, and you adjust your veil, finding solace in the past's echoes. In ancient Egypt, wedding rituals evolve over centuries, shaped by religion and culture. A mainstream historical fact. Early Egyptian marriages, from the Old Kingdom onward, blend spiritual and practical elements, with rituals like purifications and offerings growing more elaborate under the New Kingdom's wealth and priestly influence. You think of the lotus-scented rites, the amethyst-dusted rose water, and wonder how they changed from simpler times when a bride might have just shared bread under the stars. The villagers' expectations feel timeless, but their complexity is new, and you're caught in their intricate web. You glance at the base figurine by the hearth, its grin unchanged for generations. Here's the quirky tidbit. Early brides might have used simple clay tokens, not the carved frog amulets or natron-laced honey of today, which grew popular with trade and temple wealth. You imagine a woman centuries ago, her hands free of lotus paste, tying a plain cord around her bed. Your cousin's teasing voice pops into your head, joking that those old brides had it easy without garlic tests. You smirk, but the thought of simpler rituals soothes you, a reminder that even these traditions were once new and strange. Your mother-in-law passes, her eyes softer now, and you wonder if she ever questioned these rites. The villagers' customs, from barley tosses to fertility chants, feel eternal, but they've shifted with time, shaped by priests and trade routes. Historians still argue whether these changes reflected deeper faith or just social display, but to you, they're a heavy inheritance, and you're tracing their roots to steady yourself. You touch the blue linen strip on your wrist, its dye a nod to newer rituals, and feel a connection to the women who came before, their own nerves frayed by different but familiar trials. You sit by the hearth, your groom's shoulder brushing yours, and think of the Hathor shrine. Its lotus offerings are constant through time. Those early brides didn't face your mother-in-law's salt ritual, but they knew the weight of community eyes. You imagine them, their hopes tucked into simple tokens, and feel a kinship, their strength a quiet guide. The village's hum grows, and you're pulled back to the present, your hands still dusted with flour. Your dreams of red boats feel closer now, tied to those women who found ways to endure, even as rituals evolved around them. Let's add a joke. If those old brides skipped the lotus paste, maybe they had better dreams than you. You chuckle, and your groom raises an eyebrow, his tired smile a small comfort. The courtyard's bustle presses in, but you hold on to this moment, the past's simplicity a bomb against the day's demands. Another joke, at least modern amulets are shinier, those old clay tokens probably crumbled mid-vow. You grin, but the frog amulet's weight pulls you back. A reminder of the rituals you're still navigating, their roots deep but ever-changing. You stand, brushing flour from your dress, the amethyst beads clinking softly. The villager's eyes linger, but you feel a flicker of strength, knowing you're part of a long line of brides who faced their own trials. The spindle waits inside, its spell for harmony a link to the past, and you're determined to weave your place, even if the rituals have grown heavier with time. You adjust the scarab amulet, its turquoise a steady anchor, and step toward the house. The morning's light warming your back. You pause by the courtyard's edge, the Nile's ripple, a faint echo of ancient days. Your groom's quiet presence steadies you, and you hold the linen knot amulet, its frayed edges a mirror of your resolve. The village's scrutiny is relentless, but the past's brides give you courage, and you brace for the day's tasks, hoping to honor their legacy, even if your hands tremble with the weight of new traditions. You step into the house, the morning sun filtering through the reed mats, the weight of ancient brides' resilience still warming your thoughts. The village's hum softens as the day unfolds, and now, as the wedding rituals finally fade, you find a moment of calming closure, a chance to breathe and let the chaos of the night and dawn settle into peace. Your groom is nearby, repairing a basket, his quiet focus a gentle anchor. You clutch the linen knot amulet, its frayed edges soft now, and sit by the hearth, the scent of baked bread and faint lotus lingering. The air feels lighter, and you adjust your scarab amulet, ready to let the trials drift away like Nile mist. In ancient Egypt, the end of wedding rites marks a transition, not just to marriage, but to a new rhythm of life. A mainstream historical fact. After days of ceremonies, couples are often given a quiet moment to rest, symbolizing the god's final blessing and the community's acceptance. You feel the village's eyes easing, their scrutiny giving way to routine, and you're grateful for this pause, a chance to reclaim yourself after the whirlwind of offerings and tests. You think of the Hathor shrine's glow, its lotus petals a distant memory, and feel the ritual's weight lifting, like dust settling after a breeze. Your mother joins you, her hands empty of jugs or offerings, and hands you a small clay cup of honey-sweetened milk, a rare treat. Here's the quirky tidbit. The milk is infused with a single saffron thread, believed to soothe the soul's journey, though it just tastes like a gentle farewell to the night's intensity. You sip it slowly, the sweetness coating your tongue, and your cousin's teasing voice echoes, joking that you finally got something tastier than date pits. You smile, the warmth of the cup grounding you, and your mother's soft nod feels like permission to rest at last. You lean back, the hearth's embers glowing faintly, and let your shoulders relax, the amethyst beads of your dress quiet for once. The villagers' chatter is a soft hum now, the gossip circles loosening as daily tasks take over. Historians still argue whether these post-trickle pauses were for practical recovery or symbolic renewal. But to you, it's a gift, a moment to feel human again after playing goddess and bride. You glance at your groom, his hands deft with the basket, and feel a flicker of hope. The ritual's demands fading into a shared future. The saffron milk's warmth spreads, and you think of the reed boat you dreamed of, its secret wishes floating free. The villager's eyes, the garlic tests, the lotus chants there behind you now, their weight dissolving like morning fog. You set the cup down, its clay cool, and adjust the frog amulet, its poke a familiar friend rather than a burden. Your mother hums a soft tune, and you close your eyes. The hearth's glow a gentle lullaby, pulling you toward peace. Let's add a joke. If this milk doesn't soothe you, maybe you can nap on Bess's grin instead. You chuckle, the sound blending with the village's hum, and your groom glances over, his smile a quiet promise. The rituals are done, and you're no longer just a bride but a woman stepping into a life you'll shape. One loaf, one weave, one hope at a time, another joke. At least if you dream tonight, it'll be of honey, not crocodile paste. You grin, the linen knot amulet soft in your hand, and let the day's demands fade, their urgency lost in this moment's calm. You rest by the hearth. The villagers hum, now a distant murmur, like the Nile's soft ripple under starlight. Saffron milk's sweetness lingers, and your eyelids grow heavy, the ritual's weight melting into a gentle haze. Picture the river's reeds swaying, their whispers carrying away the night's trials. The amulet's clinks, the villager stares. You're safe now, wrapped in the quiet of this moment, your groom's steady presence a warm anchor beside. You, the hearth's embers glow, their light soft as a mother's touch, and you feel the god's gaze soften too, their demands fading into a forgiving dusk. Let your breath slow, each exhale a release, the linen knot's frayed edges a reminder you've endured. The Nile flows on, eternal and calm, and you drift with it, your dreams free to wander where no rituals reach. Sleep comes gently, a gift, earned through every step, and you sink into its embrace, the world quiet at last. Asterisk, sweet dreams,